Hello and welcome to TrekChatz, a Star Trek first-time watch podcast from two people who have never watched Star Trek before. My name is Allen, and I'm joined by the Pakmara himself. It's Magellan.
Which one was that? Was that a bad thing?
Yeah, that's the evil red one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, if you co-host, and we're going to talk about Star Trek from my perspective.
Wow. And then I shoot you with a blue beam of pure good and objective kindness.
No, the episode where Quark gets so dressed as a woman is the best of the series.
Wow, that's beautifully
I
acted.
just have like all of the wrong opinion.
How are you doing, Magellan?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. Partner of the podcast, Amanda, was away for a bit. She's home. That was nice for her to return. Been enjoying watching Star Trek the past day and a half. Just kind of quiet time at the homestead lately. What about you?
Yeah, just same old shit. I'm excited. It's now August, and that means it's the month where I get to visit you. I can do whatever I want. I have free will. But no, we tend to hang out and run a 5K together every August, and that's a highlight of my summer for sure. Coming up to a Chatz pod near you. I like to always start TrekChatz by asking you about obviously how you're doing, and then what your Trek experience has been like this past month or so since the last episode.
Yeah, what has it been like? I think what I'm realizing is like the barrier to me starting a watch of a chunk of episodes is it means that I can't watch anything else. And all I wanted to do for this past week was play Magic the Gathering and have Smosh compilations on in the background of like clips that I've seen 10 times already, but they're in a different order because it's a different person who edited them together. And it's like, yeah, Star Trek sounds good, but then I wouldn't be able to watch these clips right now. I'd have to pay attention to Star Trek. So I had a lot of days where it's like, okay, better start Star Trek. What's this first episode about? Oh, the ship gets really small. I don't think so. Maybe tomorrow. And I ended up just kind of going into like a meditative trance yesterday where I sat down on my bed and watched, I want to say 8 or 9 episodes straight. Just like,
whoa.
And it flew by. It's like, oh, wow. It's already 7 p.m. and I only have 4 episodes left in the season.
That was yesterday?
I finished them this morning. That was yesterday. So, and oddly, this kind of felt like one of the faster experiences for me, which is weird because I think this was probably the worst stretch of Deep Space Nine episodes we've watched in a while.
Valid. I don't know if I agree in terms of overall average quality, because the thing is it has more lows than we've been used to for a while, for sure, but the highs are like as high as the show can get. There just weren't enough of them.
I fundamentally disagree with that, but I respect your opinion.
I love you. I'm so excited to get into this. Yeah, this is going to be a really fun conversation. As for myself, I've talked about how I joined a book club earlier this year, and sometimes TrekChatz intersects awkwardly with book club, where I'm like, oh, I'm rushing to finish a book, but now I also have to watch Star Trek, and that's the only like deadlines that ever come into conflict with each other. So I just opted to be one day late to finishing my book club. I had like a third of it left and finished it the day after we did it. And then I got to meet the author a week later, which is really cool. That was my previous Chats on the road to Tender Hearts. Yeah, she's really friendly, and she signed my book. So then starting a new book while starting this, I was like, yeah, I'm on top of both things. I'm so good at this. And I had a huge early start, and then there were like 3 days this week where I was like, I don't want to do any of this. Like an incredible start out the gate, almost half the season in like 2 days, and half of the half, I mean. And then I was like, oh wait, no, I don't want to watch Star Trek. And then I was like, oh my God, I have 5 episodes left and there's 2 days. Oh God.
Mhm.
So we have a new member of the Discord recently. Mortal, I think is what they go by in Discord. They're from YouTube actually. So hello, if you're watching this video version.
Welcome.
Welcome and thank you for joining the Chatz community there. And so they've been really active in the TrekChatz channel. So
Mhm.
I've been doing what I usually do and posting like spoiler tagged thoughts ahead of the pod. And
Yeah.
what I was realizing in like looking back at all of those was this season, like you said, it has like huge stretches of like just nothing. Like, what is going
Mhm.
on? What happened? This show had
Yeah.
so much juice. And then just
Yeah.
a little peak of light. And you're like, oh, wait, this is very well done. This is a great episode of television. And then just right back down. And it's like, we're in season 6, part 2, guys. We should be firing on all. We know what we're doing. Why are we still
Yeah.
doing dumb episodes?
Yeah. I think a lot about when we watch Star Trek about the number of episodes in a season, the length of episodes, the length of a series, and I think my brain wants to come up with some kind of like universal field theory for like what is the proper length of a television show, and there just isn't an answer to that. Um, because on some level, like it's a 26 episode show that's really long and it's speculative fiction, and we're going to throw in a bunch of stupid episodes because we just want you to have this available to you
Correct.
basically every week of the year. And there's something to that, but like you have to wonder every season of Star Trek, it feels like there's an obvious 6 that you could just cut straight up.
100%.
Um,
At least 6.
And I don't really know what to do with that, because you're kind of fundamentally changing like the nature and the fabric of what the thing is by saying that. But it definitely felt like there was a lot of filler here. And I was also just thinking, like, is there a show that's at its best in its 6th season? Like if we could sort of graph, and I was thinking about doing this for all the shows we watch for Chats, and I might still do it, but like, what is the best season of the most shows, and how likely is it that you're going to get this far into a show and it's still going to have that juice? Because they kind of had like a revitalization at the beginning of season 5,
yeah.
maybe. But then, like, I don't know, it's hard to sustain that. Like, the cast has been doing this for so long, the writers have been writing it for so long.
Yeah.
You've already used up a lot of ideas, so you have to kind of go back to the well in some places. You have to hold off on doing these bigger changes because it's a show that needs to be 26 episodes long.
Precisely.
So it kind of just starts like slowly unraveling itself because of all the things that it has to be and not be at the same time.
Yeah, I think I felt similarly towards the end of TNG, where it's like,
Yeah,
now we
definitely.
can only do either like every small episode feels more insignificant than ever, because it's like, why are we here? And we say like, what does a smaller season of TV look like? And that's what we live in today, right? A TV environment where seasons are shorter because people don't like filler, and because of the way that TV shows are funded now, and the way that syndication isn't as big of a deal. We don't need the 100 episodes. We don't need to crack 100 ever. In fact, if we can get shows in and out as quickly as possible, that tends to be the more popular methodology for producers. And that's worth noting now, because this is the first time, I think, in regular TrekChatz history where an actively airing Star Trek show is on and one of us is watching it at the same time as TrekChatz is happening. Because Strange New Worlds just started their 3rd season. And it's really interesting watching that week by week. We're now, I think, in episode 3 or 4, maybe. And seeing what does modern day shorter season Star Trek look like in direct comparison to DS9. A show that at its best feels very serialized, very literary, very intelligent, and at its worst feels like some random thing you'd throw on cable and be like, oh, sure, there's an evil dog in this episode or something.
Right.
I will say Strange New Worlds season 3 I'm enjoying. I think my bigger problems with that show are just its lack of a moral compass. It like doesn't have a strong moral message. And it is also, it's interesting that it's so fixated on the original series, and that I find that to be negative, because I think DS9 and TNG both had a lot of original series blood in them that shows itself in different ways. So why do I complain about it in Strange New Worlds? I think because 30 years down the line, it's no longer novel to do a show about the characters from TOS.
Right.
It's just kind of, I want to see
Especially because we had the movie reboots. Correct. Too. It's like we've already kind of done the updated version of that.
Yeah, like without getting into it, they are the core team of Strange New Worlds comes from the TOS pilot. The
right, when it was a different captain.
So it's sort of like, what if that world continued before the accident that happens in that episode? That's basically the core premise of Strange New Worlds. And then we take it in new directions. But those new directions mean we still have Spock, we still have Uhura, we have Scotty this season. It's like, what are we doing? We're just doing shit that my parents in the 60s were watching. Like, what are we doing? So that's my like modern Trek update, I guess. But I'd love to talk about season 6, part 2 of Deep Space Nine with you, if you'd like to get started.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we begin our watch in our traditional here TrekChatz format. We talk about each episode briefly with a very short summary, and then we give them a tier ranking. A, B, C, D, F, and so bad it's good. And S, of course, for the sterling solid gold episodes that are in the Pantheon. And we begin after the bombshell that was last chunk's episode's ending, Far Beyond the Stars. We return to DS9 with 614, One Little Ship, which, as you said earlier, is an episode where the Defiant gets really tiny. And they have to fight Jem'Hadar in like a small battle.
What happened at the end of Far Beyond the Stars again? Like, where did we leave off? Because this feels like it's not following anything, really. And I was sort of left like, was I expecting something or not?
No. I mean, I think Far Beyond the Stars more left us with just thinking about Sisko being the dreamer in the dream.
And Far Beyond the Stars was the science fiction.
Correct.
That
it wasn't like a storyline, had like a main story episode really in the traditional sense.
Got it. Okay.
That's why.
Yeah. This episode is one of a few in the season. Like, here's the issue that I find, and I think I've expressed this before with Deep Space Nine being 26 episodes, is when you, like, in a show that's 26 episodes, you want to have sort of like the episodes that drive things forward, and then the episodes where you take detours and you explore character moments or kind of one-off stories, side things. In Deep Space Nine, the issue is that all the things that you want to do with that central driving narrative undermine your ability to then like take a break and explore this other stuff, because they want to be like, there's a war, everybody's scared of the war, we're in danger on the station, but all of the side stuff has to be kind of like, it's a day in the life hanging out, or we're gonna go explore the galaxy in our ship. And whenever I see an episode like this where all of the senior officers are on the Defiant doing, I don't know, some kind of science mission or something, it's like, aren't they supposed to be at their jobs on Deep Space Nine? Like, this isn't Star Trek The Next Generation. So it's a weird tension there, because I think, you know, what we lose when we don't have TV shows that are these like 26 episode things, what's great about those is you can have a room of writers who have kind of like their idea for a TV episode, and then they have to Star Trekify it.
Yeah.
So it's more of an anthology feel, as opposed to like everybody sketches out like the big thing, and then they say, okay, I'll do this part, I'll do this part, I'll do this part. So you get a little more of something that feels like when we were watching Far Beyond the Stars and those characters are writing a science fiction magazine. I think like the best one-off Star Trek episodes feel like a story that somebody wrote in a science fiction magazine.
Totally.
And it just happens to be a Star Trek episode. But it's really hard for me to suspend my disbelief for that kind of exercise in a show where it's like, these people shouldn't be doing this right now. Like, they just wouldn't. Sisko would not be flying the Defiant around when there is like a war going on and he is the commander of a crucial strategic position
Right.
in that conflict.
Well, and the episode does
Yeah.
intersect with that point a little bit. They don't forget that the war is happening. I think the idea of the setup is, okay, we're really exhausted. Our troops and our forces are exhausted by being on the front lines. We need to take a break. Like in universe, we need to take a break and investigate an anomaly. So we're still doing work. But then when I say that the war still intersects, it's like, and also even on our break, the Jem'Hadar attacked us because we're in active military combat. So
Yeah.
this episode still features space combat. It's just in a Honey, I Shrunk the Kids format instead of what the finale is, which is like epic, large scale conflict.
True.
And that doesn't lend itself to much dramatic tension or excitement. You're like, what, are we gonna kill everybody who's on the little mini ship? No, it's not gonna happen. So I just found, this episode was like very understimulating. It did not have a lot of meat on the bone.
Yeah, there's kind of two things. There's sort of the shrinking the little ship, like the Defiance pod down, and it's Dax and Miles and Bashir in there. And then they have to figure out how to unshrink. And then there's the Jem'Hadar stuff that now we learn that there's a new kind of breed of Jem'Hadar, essentially, because there were the ones that were genetically engineered and born in the Gamma Quadrant, and then there's a new set of Jem'Hadar who are being kind of bred to have different characteristics that make them more suited to the war in the Alpha Quadrant, in theory. So there's this almost like a caste system developing amongst the Jem'Hadar, where there's the Gammas and the Alphas are young and I think a little bit more impulsive, and you have one guy who's like the former first of this group. He's a Gamma. He's trying to encourage these Jem'Hadar to make rational choices from their perspective. And the Alphas are like, shut up, old man. We're going to do things our way. We're not going to listen to you. And I think the episode wants you to really care about that guy, the Gamma guy. But I think it's just kind of a worse version of the other Jem'Hadar episode that we watched in the first half of the season, where they're stranded on the planet.
Yeah, great episode.
And because it's in both cases, they're trying to make this point of like, oh, the Jem'Hadar, they're so hierarchical.
Worth
That's
noting,
not smart.
Worth noting, this concept is dropped after this episode.
Really?
There's no further mention of Alpha and Gamma Jem'Hadar after this one. It was an idea that they had conceived of for a while and intended to be a plot line, and then they did not have time to do anything with it.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I don't know how much like meat it really has. Like maybe there's something with the Gammas are getting upset and then they kind of rebel or something.
Yeah, uprising. That's all I can imagine. But like,
yeah.
It's funny that this episode was called internally Honey, I Shrunk the Runabout. And it's like, you guys, Star Trek's not a show that lends itself to doing send-ups of current pop culture. Like it actually lends itself to doing send-ups of like Frank Sinatra or Sherlock Holmes in TNG's case. But like a movie that just came out like a couple of years, I know there was like an old Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like this is just that it doesn't work in the show. And the funny thing is, right, you read the trivia, this was a Renee Echevarria idea. So I'm just gonna read this, and this will make a lot of One Little Ship make sense. Echevarria, when he was still a freelancer, before he sold the script for The Offspring, which is an okay episode of TNG, he wrote a spec script about a shuttle and its occupants shrinking due to an accident, and then using their newly reduced size to save the Enterprise D. He didn't pitch it at the time. Years later, he became a staff writer on the 6th season of TNG. Jerry Taylor said, "No, I'm not interested." Then he joined DS9, and he said, "Hey, Michael Piller, what about this?" Piller, uninterested. Then Ira Steven Bear takes over as executive producer. Echevarria pitches it, uninterested. He spent the next several years trying to convince Ira Steven Bear that the show had potential, and eventually Bear capitulated. So that is an embarrassing story for Renee Echevarria, because it really depicts it as like, on one hand, keep shooting your shot. On the second hand, they don't want the tiny ship episode, dog. Stop pitching it. They made it, and it's so boring. It's so
Right.
nothing.
It's
This
super
is what
boring.
you pitched
the
for
problem,
years.
yeah, he should have gone to the Voyager writer's room, because this feels like an episode that would be fine on Voyager.
Right.
It's like, we're fucking lost. Some of us are small now. I don't know what the fuck's going on. That sounds like it fits that show, from what I know of it, better than Deep Space Nine. I will say, like, something that really shines to me here is the production design of the episode and the set design.
Okay.
Like, it's clear that there's a lot of craft and love going into this idea. The scene where Miles and Julian are inside of the like electronics, and they're walking around this chip trying to figure out where they are, so that they can fix something. And Julian's trying to talk Miles through, like, okay, try to visualize it in your mind's eye, like, this component being here, where is that in the larger mechanism? I think that scene is really cool, and they're in front of this, like, big looking computer inside piece. That bit, I really like that a lot. And I also kind of like the action of the tiny runabout flying around and blasting people and stuff. That was fun.
It's cute.
Yeah, so I can understand someone, like, really convincing themselves that there has to be a tiny ship episode of Star Trek someday, but especially Deep Space Nine is just like,
Especially
not,
Deep Space Nine Season 6 Part 2.
yeah, it's like not the time to do this.
And this is the thing about what a lot of the episodes we don't love in Season 6 Part 2 is, like, this doesn't really fit here. And that's because part of what you do when you're late in a series is that you start taking scripts that you're like, hey, we didn't give this a shot. We need 5 more. We'll take Renee's script. That's fine.
Right.
Regardless, because people didn't think as much about, like, things following a linear or serialized order, even in Deep Space Nine's case, like we do now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, we just have an episode this week. What do we want to put it? It's the one where we do the little ship. Fine, take it. And that was Star Trek's thing, is similar to, like you said earlier, science fiction magazines. They're like, just give us a pitch, put it in Star Trekify it, we'll make it a storyline. Excuse me.
And you know, I think there is a part of me that, upon hearing that story about the way that this episode came to be, it makes me glad that it exists, because it speaks to a way of making science fiction television where that's the mechanism, that there's a writer who's like, I came up with this thing, this idea, I think it's good, I want to try to put it in this show. And sometimes that actually makes really amazing, unique episodes.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you get ones like this where it's like, okay, whatever. But you kind of, I think, need a mechanism that produces one little ship in order to get some of the other episodes that we absolutely adore from Star Trek.
Exactly right. And so I give this episode a C for what it's worth. I think it's
it's like C, low B, just because I thought the microchip part was so cool.
Yeah.
I also really like the Worf, this like random non sequitur Worf thing where he keeps telling Jadzia that he's going to come home and read her a poem, and Nog is even like, oh yeah, he's totally written this poem, and then he comes home and reads it to her, but he's not actually reading something, he's just like pranking her.
Yeah.
It's like, it's out of character for Worf, but in a way that makes sense. Like, he would only do this with Jadzia in the intimacy of their relationship.
Yes.
He would kind of like take on some of her impishness and kind of prankstery vibes. So it's like a total throwaway part of this episode, but I thought it was pretty charming. I think C, though, is probably correct.
All right, we'll take it. Fun stuff. Moving on. 615 Honor Among Thieves. This is another episode that is loosely based on a movie that was just a year or two old at this point. This is DS9's attempt at Donnie Brasco, undercover agent, does super secret spy stuff, and it all goes tits up. except it's O'Brien with a complete nothing guy of a friend character who he goes deep in with the Orion Syndicate in an attempt to find out some information. If you've seen this type of movie, whether it's Donnie Brasco or any of the other like guy infiltrates crime thing, even The Departed is kind of this sort of, you know how this is going to go. This is exactly a by the books genre episode. It gives Colmini an opportunity to be dark and be a little charming and gritty. It's not that dark though, and it's just kind of right by the plate. Normal speedball, straight down the plate. Do they hit it out of the park? Sure. I think they get like a double, maybe. Baseball's happening right now, so I'm making a lot of baseball references.
I think that made sense, your metaphor. It's
Easy double
to me. Yeah.
Things I liked about it. I love a Star Trek episode where everything is just broken. You know, someone's like, the drink machine doesn't work, and the ship's like, it's not putting out cold air, and my room's fucked up, and the holodeck is broken. And it's like, yeah, this is what happens when O'Brien's gone. That's just happening underneath all of this secret mission shit. I like that his partner in crime has a cat. I think Chester the cat is the first cat that we've seen on Deep Space Nine, maybe?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Never as good as Data's cat. That's just the perfect cat, but you know, it's good to have a cat.
It's also very charming that they don't make a point of this, but later Chester comes back and he's just like the O'Brien's pet now.
Oh, I didn't notice that. But they do have a cat later, and it's this cat. You're absolutely right. Wow, that's so good. I do like that somebody name dropped Ryza. Oh, what does that guy Bilby do? Oh, he does weather control on Ryza. And I was like, oh, continuity. Yeah, an extremely important job, keeping it at a calm, breezy 70 degrees. I said, you tune out for 30 seconds and now we're doing a bank robbery inside of someone's brain. The way that they do the heist is it's like a mental hacking thing that there's no visual to explain it other than the guy going like,
it's just a bunch of guys at a computer like almost there.
And then someone goes, we just hacked the bank. And they all high five. You're like, the hell?
Yeah.
That's all I got. Those are the things I liked.
This is the classic. I mean, I like this plot, but it is very cliche. I'm the good guy who can play bad guy, but maybe the reason I can play bad guy is because I've got a little bad in me, and the bad guy is good to me, and now we're kind of buddies. I'm getting confused, and then I try to save him because I've learned that maybe he's actually a good guy all along, and the cops don't understand that. And I think that plot just kind of functions. Like this episode follows those beats and does them, and it works because it works. There's these little elements of entertaining riffs on that, but it doesn't super rise above that sort of basic idea. Rise above. And again, it's like, why is Miles O'Brien the guy tapped to do this when he is the chief engineer, the only person who can make sure that Deep Space Nine, a very important strategic position, remains functional? Like, you've got to be able to find somebody else who can fix stuff as good as he can, who can do this mission.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Like, I can recognize that O'Brien is good at all the things that he needs to be good at to do this. But again, it's like, I can't really buy that he would be the one who has to do it.
Right. I think what it makes them realize in universe is that it's a problem that O'Brien is the only one who knows how to fix things. We have a whole engineering team. Why is he the only one who's like good at this?
Right.
But they don't really answer that question. They just kind of acknowledge that it's a fault of the way Deep Space Nine works. They have one good engineer. I mean, get Nog trained up. Not Nog. Rom.
Right.
Get Rom trained up. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, Renee Echevarria was disappointed with how this episode turned out.
Poor Renee. Some moments that were kind of entertaining to me. I like the classic code phrase moment where the guy tries to see if Miles knows the answer to the secret question.
Uh-huh.
He asks him, what did you think of my wife's cake? And the code response is, to be honest, well, it's a little dry.
A little dry. Yeah.
Like, that's very entertaining. There's a whole bit where the guy brings a woman to Miles's room, and Miles is like, yeah, sorry, no. And the guy's like, you're not gay, are
Yeah.
you? Like,
What are you?
what are you?
Some
And
sort of
O'Brien's like,
queer?
no, I'm not gay. I just have a boyfriend. I mean, a wife. I mean, a girlfriend.
Every time we cut inside of O'Brien's brain, it's a picture of Bashir in a dress, Bashir in a dress, Bashir in a skirt.
But this one it's another C to me, I think.
I think what I like about I agreed. I think C is right. The interpretation of Bashir and O'Brien that I enjoy is not just that they love, like, that they're gay for each other. Like, the thing that's canonical about it that I like is that they both just want each other. They're both, like, kind of lonely men. They're doing the, like, male loneliness thing. And they both work a lot, and they just want someone who cares and listens to them, and they are that for each other. Like, Keiko fully knows that what's going on. Is there an interpretation of, like, there's something romantic or intimate about it? Yeah, but, like, I think she knows exactly what it is, and she's happy that he has it. So not to unqueer headcanon Bashir O'Brien, but I just think it's romantic and tender in a way that male friendships can be and should be.
That's true. Yeah, there's that whole scene where in the episode where we first meet Vic, and like Odo's in the holosuite, Bashir wants to get into it, and Quark's like, oh, it's being used. So Bashir's like, okay, I'm just gonna go wake up Miles, see if he wants to play ball with me. It's like, that man is a father and is sleeping. You're just gonna, like, knock on his door and see if he wants to play ball with you.
Exactly. Strange.
Pretty funny. All right, so then we have episode 16 of season 6, Change of Heart. So this one,
marital sex is the best kind of sex.
This is a Dax Worf episode. This is the first episode of this stretch of episodes that prepares you for what is to come.
It was supposed to happen here.
I'm glad it didn't. I'm sad it happens at all, but we'll talk about it.
Sorry.
No, you're good. But essentially, Dax and Worf go on a mission where they have to, like,
save a guy,
rendezvous with some guy, save him. It doesn't go so good. Dax almost dies, but Worf makes the choice to give up on the mission to save her, and he gets in trouble, but he doesn't care because, baby, you're my number one.
Right. Yeah,
and that's kind of what the episode's about.
Yeah, it's just them going through the woods, and the beginning is all them flirting and talking about how they're married and they like each other and they're intimate and they, have a sexual thing going on. And there's a Cardassian double agent. I like the concept of a Cardassian double agent. That's pretty cool. Or Cardassian Starfleet officer.
Too, yeah.
And there just also happens to be a B plot about Bashir wanting to win Tongo really bad. This is another one of those, like, did you just need extra time?
He's just learning how to play Tongo.
And then Quark wins the final game by being like, hey, you ever think about how you, like, really liked Jadzia Dax and how you thought she was, like, the one for you, and that didn't work out? Why didn't that work out? Which gets so into Bashir's head that he loses the game, and then O'Brien goes, yeah, he meant to do that. He did that to fuck with you, and it worked. That's it. We're setting up Dax stuff here. I read that this was, like I said, Terry Farrell did not re-sign her contract for the next season of DS9, and this was originally going to be the episode where she died. I'm just going to talk about it. And then they were like, this doesn't feel right. Like, we want your character to have a more, like, appropriate send-off and also play you out through the rest of the season. So they kept her on long enough, and she just doesn't die in this. It's also weird, right? Like, Worf basically has the video game moral choice of, like, finish the mission or save your wife, and then he goes back and saves her, and he's like, oh, but I might still be able to finish the mission. And they're like, no, this was a hard choice. Like, we need to commit. So the guy just dies, and that leads to my favorite scene of the episode is when Sisko kind of dresses down Worf, and he's like, you did everything wrong, and you completely failed the mission, and you should be court-martialed, but you did it for someone you care about, and I would do the same thing for Jennifer if she was still alive.
Yeah, in what I liked about that scene is there are real specific consequences for what Worf did, because
Right.
Sisko says this probably means you're not going to get promoted.
Yeah.
You're not going to be allowed to go on a mission with just you and Dax again, because you're not going to be able to make the choices you need to make.
Right.
And those specific consequences don't really undermine the status quo of the show at all. Like we can still go back to normal in the next episode, but Worf did make a choice. Like he did in some ways limit his career in order to save Dax's life. So when she comes to and he visits her and he's like, "Hey, I did this thing." It reads as very genuine when she feels a kind of anguish over that and
Yep.
gratitude at the same time, and is like, "Oh, wow, I understand what that means for you to have done that for me." So I thought that was really, really well done.
Yeah. What would you rate this one?
It's like a B. It's good. It's fine.
Yeah, I agree. B it is. It's easy.
It's a little slow. It definitely, a lot of the emotion and heart in it comes around in the third act, I think.
Exactly. That's what I wrote in my notes.
Yeah.
The next chunk of episodes is where we get an uptick. You're like, oh, not a stratospheric one, but an uptick. You want to introduce X-17?
No, I agree. Okay.
That sounds weird.
This one's called Wrongs Darker Than Death or Night. And you think there can't be any wrongs darker than death or night.
No way.
Turns out there are. Because the episode starts with, and this is one where I read the Paramount Plus summary right before I started it, which I wouldn't recommend reading the episode summary. Let me say that again and not mention that company. This is one where I read the episode summary before I watched it, and it just comes right out and says, when Dukat tells Kira that her mother was a comfort woman for him during the Cardassian occupation, Kira goes to the past to figure that out, or whatever. It's like, you gotta be a little more coy about it. But yeah, essentially, the inciting event to the episode is Dukat calls Kira on the phone and says, "Hey, Sisko really helped me realize the truth about myself and find some clarity. And I've realized, like, I'm a horrible person, and I'm really happy about that. So I'm just going to tell you that your mom and I were together for quite a long time."
Yeah.
Anyway, see you
Move
later.
on. Bye.
It's like, okay. So then Kira is obviously shaken up by that and finds an orb that sends her into the past.
She finds an orb?
She finds an orb, one of the orbs. It sends her into the past. And she is there with her mother as her mother is essentially taken into sex slavery by the Cardassians and their Bajoran collaborators, along with Kira Nerys. And she has a front row seat to her mom being a comfort woman in this Cardassian regime. And that is a really, really uncomfortable position for her to be in, for us to be in as audience members. This is I think a good episode, but one that has you like kind of grabbing the armrests and being like, God, is it over? This is horrible.
Miserable.
Yeah, what did you think of it?
Yeah, so where I land on it is, I love the overall arc between Dukat and Kira. I think it's a fascinating, ever since they first met on the show, I'm like, these two people got something weird going on. And one of the biggest faults that Deep Space Nine commits is assuming that when people have, quote unquote, a thing with Kira, that has to be either romantic or sexual. And it's like, no, I think the most interesting Dukat Kira stuff is like the manipulation and the obsession that he has with her. And this episode does flesh that out and say, you should feel weird that Dukat has been so overtly interested in Kira, despite, or due partly to the fact that he had this with her mom. And that relationship itself was also problematic, coercive, not consensual. Like and it complicates that in a messy way. The reason this episode can't be higher than a B for me is that the leaps of logic that they take to like get us here are mostly absurd. You know, we're introducing a lot of sci-fi silly bullshit to make everything here, to line all the Lego pieces up.
Yeah, like to send Nerys into the past type stuff, you're saying?
Yeah, to send her in the past, to then be like, by the way, her mom was there. By the way, she actually did like him. But also, can you really say that it was ever a romantic love if she clearly did it to save her family? I don't think you can. And also, we send Kira into the past, and not once do we talk about affecting the past. Within seconds of her going back there, she like fights a Cardassian and knocks somebody out and prevents somebody from getting kidnapped. And it's like, you can't do a time travel story and not even think about those consequences. That's like irresponsible writing.
Yeah, well, because Sisko even says to her, like, you don't go in the past. We're not allowed. You're going to change it. And she's like, I'm not going to change it. And he's like, okay, but you're not supposed to change it. And then she's like, I'm not.
The second she gets there,
immediately she starts beating people up. And apparently that doesn't change the past because I guess maybe she had already done that in the past.
Right. Time loop theory.
Yeah. So I think you have to suspend your disbelief for that part of it because the episode doesn't want to address that at all.
Yeah.
And your mileage is going to vary with like whether you're able to do that or not. I think my issue with the episode is just like, this is such a huge retcon that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And like illuminates Dukat in a like really, really gross way, like you're describing.
Yes.
And I would assume that Dukat would have brought this up way earlier.
Sooner. Agreed.
Way earlier. He would have used this as like, oh, Nerys, like, oh, you don't like me, but your mother loved me. He would have said this years ago. So it's like, it kind of boggles the mind a little bit that this would come up now and that he would just kind of like call her, say it, hang up, and then be out of the episode.
Yeah.
Like, it just feels like way too big of a thing for that.
Yeah.
But if we accept it as true, it really casts new light on his relationship with Kira Nerys. And it casts new light on his relationship with his own daughter, because now it's like, oh, this guy is this sort of paternalistic, but like, I want to like sexually conquer the mothers and the daughters,
right,
kind of thing. And it makes all of that sort of like pseudo romantic energy between him and his daughter,
Zial,
like,
or sorry,
Zial, like even grosser and more explicitly have a sexual energy as opposed to him just being like kind of a weird touchy guy. So yeah, I think it successfully makes Dukat even more clearly like disgusting.
Yeah.
Makes clearer a lot of his sort of, you know, fascistic, like, I'm the father figure to everyone in every way all the time. I'm this like romantic figure. Because even when he tells it to Kira, he's not telling the truth. He says, your mother ran away to be with me, which is not true. She was kidnapped and then
stayed with him to protect her family.
Essentially, like, yeah, submitted to him in order to gain, like, make the exchange for the sake of her husband and her children.
Yeah.
But Dukat wants to tell the story as this like kind of romantic, there was this love. But really he's just kind of enacting a story that he wants to enact. And we even see that when he says the line of like, oh, please don't judge all of us based on the boorishness of one man. And then the other Cardassian has heard him say that before.
Yeah.
So Dukat just wants to like play out this little play, and Kira Meru is like, okay, I'll play the other role in this
Right.
because I'm like, I want to make the exchange and get the benefit that I'll get from doing that. I'll
Yeah.
participate in your delusional romantic fantasy. Um, so yeah, it adds a lot to the characterization of Ducat, but I think it's coming halfway through season 6. It's just sort of like really late to bring this up, but in my opinion.
Yeah. And Kira's conclusion too is committing one of the faults that I do levy against TV shows like this very often, which is no matter how interesting the backstory becomes, we always still have to reset the status quo. That's just the way the show works. But Kira learns all this. She's about to bomb Ducat's quarters. She helps Kira Meru and Ducat escape the bomb. And then back in the present, she says, I learned all this stuff about my mother and I feel bad, but she's still my mother. And it's like, okay, then what did we learn about this? Like, what did we get out of this episode? I'm not saying every episode needs like and that's why I'm this way now. Like, this is character development for Nerys, but like, it just felt like they did all this work on all this hand waving to be like, okay, don't worry about time travel. And then it is consequence free. And that's just kind of frustrating.
I think there's a little bit more nuance to it. Like there is Kira doesn't come out of this episode having changed her feelings about like the Cardassians or what the right thing to do is. But prior to this point, the worst thing in her mind to be was a collaborator. And she's like wringing her hands over that when the Cardassians have retaken Deep Space Nine. And she and Odo are like trying to resist from the inside, but she's like, am I actually collaborating? When she senses herself falling into the role that her mother fell into a little bit, she notices it and is disgusted by it. And what she says is like, essentially the thing that gave her the strength to like detest people who collaborated was thinking about her mother and like, oh, my mom resisted and she died resisting. And now to know that actually that wasn't true, like the thing that kind of gave her the strength to act by her convictions was a lie, and her mom was the kind of person that she was like hating and casting aside. I think it just leaves her with this very ambiguous, like, I still know what's right and wrong, but I can't be quite so definitive about it. And I can't be quite so dismissive of people who make bad choices or complicated choices, because it turns out this person who I really love and who I honestly owe my life to.
Exactly.
Like,
She does say that.
She probably would have died as a child, malnourished in that camp if her mom hadn't done what she did.
Yeah.
Like, she just wasn't eating enough. And the dad calls and is like, this is great. She's gained 5 pounds. Like, she might not have made it to the age where she could be a freedom fighter in the resistance if her mom hadn't done this.
Precisely.
So I think it's really well done that she leaves the episode like, fuck, I still know what's right or wrong, but like now I can't be mad, unilaterally mad at people who made hard choices because like the circumstances fucking sucked. And it's all sad and it all sucked.
Yeah. Deep Space Nine. It's all sad and it all sucks.
Yeah. There's some great lines that she has with her mom here. Her mom says, you just don't know him. Kira says, I don't need to know him. I know the things he's done. She says, you enjoy playing house with that murderer. And then she calls her mom a collaborator. And Kira Meru says, a collaborator because I share Ducat's bed. And Nerys says, no, because you like sharing Ducat's bed.
Yeah. Intense. We're not even camping.
Yeah. This was an A for me. I think it's pretty well done.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I give it a high B. I'm willing to give it an A on that. It's good. It's got great acting. None of it is always good, but I think it loses S chances because it's so kind of sloppy the way it gets to these good conclusions, as you say.
Yeah, like we could have easily done like, oh hey, I'm Ducat. I kept a Holosuite program because I was so into your mom and I watch it sometimes. It's like, what the
Here he gets
fuck?
access to it, and you're like,
Okay, I
gross.
guess like then maybe it would have gotten there. But yeah, it's just kind of this arbitrary, like there's a time orb thing.
Can I introduce the next two before we hit the break?
Yes, please do.
Swaggy. So 618 is Inquisition. Another episode that introduces a concept that we have to talk about kind of in depth, because this is the formal introduction of Section 31, who are revealed to Dr. Bashir to be a sanctioned secret subgroup of Starfleet, similar to the FBI, the CIA, that kind of operate above the law and can unalive people, can kill people, or commit, extrajudiciary assassinations in the sake of Starfleet not having to go through their regulation. So the way he finds out is that they are a member of seemingly just Starfleet. He's brought on the station to interview different members, but it seems like all they ever want to ask about is Bashir. And he is brought into this questioning because they're actually trying to recruit him to Section 31. And he's starting to wonder. They're interrogating him specifically about the period of time where he was replaced by a changeling. And so we have this fear and paranoia thing. And what I think the episode does best is it really makes you doubt your memory of that episode. Because what they are saying is like, did you knowingly plan to do it? And then they erased your memory of consenting to do it so that you wouldn't have culpability or be able to provide evidence. He's like, no, I don't think that's what happened. We don't have full story. And they're like, actually, we don't even need to know, because what we really want to know is if you were willing to commit to us and join Section 31. And then pretty much the rest of the episode is Sloan, one of the heads of Section 31, just like explaining their ethos to Bashir. When he goes back to the station, he tells everybody what happened. Sisko's like, hey, that's so illegal. I think we owe it to ourselves to look into this more. If they ever come back and ask you to join, you should just say yes, and then maybe be our double agent. To which Bashir consents. So, Magellan, what do you know about Section 31? Have you heard this term before? Because it's never come up in a Star Trek show that we have watched together.
I've heard it because there was like that movie with
Michelle Yeoh.
what's
The
her
failed
face in it?
pilot. The failed pilot.
The Michelle Yeoh. Oh, it was a pilot? It wasn't a movie?
It's a pilot movie.
Oh, okay. And I just heard that was bad. And it's like I think I saw Jesse Gender say somewhere like it like misunderstands Section 31 or makes it seem cool when it's like evil, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's the thing about Section 31 is it will come back in Deep Space Nine, it'll come back in Voyager, it'll come back big time in Enterprise, it comes back big time in Discovery, and then its most recent incarnation was the attempt to make a Section 31 show, which didn't do well enough to be bought out. We had some great conversations, speaking of new members of the Discord, in our Chatz Discord recently, about whether or not it's okay that we on Chatz say that Starfleet or the Federation are fascists. Not that it's okay, but is it accurate? And like, what is the traditional definition of fascism? And do those groups specifically fall under being considered fascist? Because
we call Starfleet fascists?
We've probably lobbied throwing the term around, yeah. I have to imagine we have, in Deep Space Nine especially. So I was kind of like, not defending us, but just saying like, sometimes on a podcast, you have to condense certain thoughts into like a quick idea so that the conversation can stay flowing. But I do appreciate that we have listeners who can hold us accountable and say like, that word means something really specific. And I don't think that Starfleet is explicitly fascist. I think they are off. And this is what I came to the conclusion of, is like, I think they're authoritarian. I think that they do things that are fascistic. And I think Inquisition kind of like lends the term some credence. This is a very fascistic thing to do and to have sanctioned in your charter. In your original founding charter, you're like, we're allowed to do extrajudicial murder. I don't know. Where do you land on the terminology and also on Section 31 in this episode?
I mean, I'm sure that I have kind of shot from the hip and called Starfleet fascist. If I'm really drilling down, I don't know that is 100% the most accurate term, but I'm also kind of like personally in favor of having a bigger tent when it comes to what we call fascist, because I think it's kind of counterproductive to spend time quibbling about like, okay, but it's only a coworker of mine makes a joke that it's like when people get very technical about fascism and say like, oh, it has to come from Germany in the 1930s, otherwise it's sparkling authoritarianism. Like it's a joke about like it's only champagne if it's from the Champagne region of France. And that's kind of how I feel about it, that like we can get like really technical with the definitions, but fascism in particular is like kind of a slippery thing to define because it makes itself so. I think there have been moments where Starfleet or the Federation or some of its members have been fascist or fascistic.
Correct.
Like you're saying. I think they are, without a doubt, imperialist. That is like a term that I would very confidently lobby against them.
Same.
So I'll say that. But yeah, the whole Section 31 thing, I don't even know what to make of that. It feels like the KGB or something. It's just like a very creepy thing to exist and to have kind of its own operations, its own judgment, not be accountable to anybody. Nobody knows that it exists. Yeah, so definitely a pretty creepy idea that they forward here that I think they do pretty well in this episode of like, oh god, these guys exist and they know a lot of stuff and they can just kind of show up and like mess with my brain and then try to recruit me. That's weird.
Yeah, like so Ira Steven Behr was the progenitor, or the person who conceived of Section 31, because one of his major goals with Deep Space Nine was to sort of lift the rock of Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek and be like, well, what's under that Starfleet rock? What kind of how does a system like Starfleet exist and the way that it does? The answer is not all of it is above board, plain and simple. I understand how this can get misinterpreted as like they have cool black suits and they do illegal crimes. Like, especially in the West, we have a lot of TV shows. You know, this is how we get to like the 2000s and 24 is like, oh, there are some people who just they get to do their own thing, and that's probably better. Or the Punisher, the history of the Punisher is kind of mired in this sort of what if you could do extrajudicial killing? Is that fair? So I get where it's coming from, and I think the performance of Sloan is great. I think Michael Dorn does a great job directing this one. But a lot of it is just him talking at Bashir. And Bashir as this sort of neutral, like, and then what? How are you guys allowed to do that? And they're like, because we are. Because they wrote it in the charter. It's very, it's like benign evil, you know?
Yeah. It also just feels very kind of... like, to me, it sort of feels like, oh, the government's hiding UFOs from you kind of way of thinking about how
X-Files.
Regimes do bad things. Like, it feels like a very Gen X sort of, but did you know that there's actually a secret government that was founded at the same time? And
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like, I'm not super... I like this idea as a plot device because it's kind of creepy in the way that, like, in Babylon 5 with the telepaths, or no, what are they called? The
telepaths.
They're called telepaths? Yeah.
Psycor.
And Psycor, thank you, Psycor. It feels like the Psycor thing a little bit, which is kind of fun and scary. But real imperialist systems don't need to have like a secret state underneath them. That's because they just do this. Like the United States in the 20th century specifically was like, hey, CIA, go depose this leader of this country over here 20 different times or whatever. So I don't totally buy Ira Steven Behr's thing that like, oh, there has to be this it almost kind of like absolves the Federation and Starfleet a little bit of what it's doing, because there's this complete compartmentalization of like all the bad stuff is being done by this entity that was founded 200 years ago and nobody knows that it's still around.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, so that's not very satisfying to me as like a narrative choice. I'm going to turn my camera off for 1 second, but I'm still here.
Okay. I'm here now. Hi, everyone. So I was going to say, agree with everything Magellan was saying there about the CIA and stuff, and how this kind of state sanctioned violence is just the way it works now. Wow, I'm so blown out on this camera. I don't like being full screen. I'm scared. And you read about even like the Iran-Contra affair, and it's like, oh yeah, that's just Reagan. That's the Reagan administration, dog. That's not like the secret black ops. It's very comforting to imagine that all of the secret state violence is happening by people in black suits who you never ever see, and they're, there and gone without a trace. It's like, as what John is saying, like, that's just not how we really understand it anymore. We've grown up. There he is. Yeah, so I just think this episode's really interesting, and I want to see what Deep Space Nine at least does with Section 31, but unfortunately, this is just a concept that did not need to be brought into the 21st century, and their choice to keep doing things with it is kind of, it's proving unsuccessful for obvious reasons.
Yeah, it's also just like Deep Space Nine already has a thing that can work like this, and it's the changelings being around. And we sort of said that there were changelings everywhere, and now we're not thinking about that anymore. It's like another thing for Deep Space Nine to have going on that they're not gonna do something with. So that also makes me be like, I don't know how much I care about this. But the guy, the Section 31 guy in this episode is awesome. Sloan. He feels like Willem Dafoe playing specifically Norman Osborn. Like, not Green Goblin, but like he's there at Thanksgiving dinner and he's watching the blood dripping from the ceiling, like filled with rage, Norman Osborn.
This is William Sadler, who has been this kind of guy in a lot of shows.
He's good at being this kind of guy.
Absolutely. I think this one gets a B.
I thought it was
okay.
An A. Yeah.
All right.
I thought it was pretty good.
Prompted some good conversation too. And we'll see Bashir joining Section 31 later. Well, that'll come back eventually. Oh, my last big point was going to be, the other reason why this is not surprising is we've now established that every member of the Dominion War has this. Starfleet has Section 31. The Cardassians have the Obsidian Order, and now the Romulans have the Tal Shiar from TNG. Like, we all have a, like, what if there was a CIA group or like a secret group? So it just kind of like puts Starfleet in line with every other faction, further disassembling the idea that they're somehow better.
Yes, but it does it in that way where it's like, oh, like Sisko didn't know they exist,
right?
So he still gets to be the good guy, and it's like, I don't know.
So
I think Sisko would know that they exist.
If you don't feel okay about Sisko always being the good guy, I highly recommend talking about 619 in the Pale Moonlight. It's like a treasure from the West. So this episode's often cited as the best episode of DS9. And I went into it with a lot of hype because of that. And I think it doesn't do it a service to keep calling it that. Oh my God, but John's face is really betraying a lot of thoughts right now. I'd love to hear anything.
It's good. People call this the best episode of Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, for sure. Commonly. It's like often cited as the best episode.
Okay, here's my hot take.
Get
on that. This episode is written and shot like it wants you to think that it's the best episode.
I totally agree.
The whole device of Sisko being like, let me tell you what I did. And he's talking to camera, and then it keeps cutting back to him narrating like, so you can see at this point I was really fucked, but I decided to keep making bad choices. This is an episode that's like, you are watching the best episode of Deep Space Nine right now.
Oh my
And
god.
if you think it's the best episode, you got by TV techniques. I mean, you're allowed to think it's the best, but I disagree.
I
I
love
think it
that
just
take.
presents itself that way.
Sure. And even and I don't think you're going to get a lot of pushback on that one, because it seemed like people in our Discord were kind of like, yeah, this one's good, but not like remarkable. It's smart. It's clever, but it also definitely knows it's being smart and clever, which almost starts to unsell me on it. To give the general overview, the episode has a frame narrative of Sisko recording an audio log, or a captain's log, about a moment in the last couple of weeks where he worked with Garrick to initiate a political assassination in an attempt to recruit the Romulans to the Dominion War on the side of the Federation. Right. The audio log stuff is all him trying to it's revealed that he's trying to justify to himself his actions. And by the end of it, it kind of lands on not being exactly proud of it. He's almost repeating to himself over and over again, and I'm okay with it, and I'm okay with it, and I'm okay with it. But he never takes the drink. He's like holding this wonderful like glass of alcohol, ready to take the drink as if like, bottoms up. And he never does it because he doesn't fully agree with what he did. And then he deletes the log. So we, the viewer, are the only people who have record of what happened here. This is like Sisko going all the way undercover, him and Garrick. It is dark. It is sad. There is some great monologue work from Garrick and from Sisko for sure. But this isn't remarkable. Like, Sisko is basically saying, like, was it worth all of the deaths that I deliberately chose to cause for the sake of recruiting people to increase our forces during a war? That question doesn't have an answer, right?
Yeah, I think this is a really great episode, and it asks questions and does things that other episodes of Deep Space Nine don't do. So part of the reason that you might consider it the best or one of the best is just because it is set so far apart from the rest of them. And I think this is a moment where, like, if there's any arc for Sisko's character, there's sort of two that we could talk about. There's the emissary stuff, which this season really wants to think about and look at, and I have mixed feelings about. And then there's this kind of like, his foil was Eddington from the Maquis. And Eddington is this figure who's like, okay, you think Starfleet's so great, but there's clearly things wrong with Starfleet. There's clearly things that are kind of corrupt about their methods. And, we're the Maquis. We're clear-eyed about what needs to happen. They're bad guys, and we're going to fight them, and we're going to do what it takes, even if we have to use kind of like underhanded methods to do it.
Correct.
And Sisko's been resistant to that, but sympathetic to it. So now in this episode, this is the moment where he's like, I guess I'm an Eddington type now, like full on. I'm engineering this fabrication in order to get the Romulans to join the conflict, because I've sort of deemed that it's like the right thing to do. And all of the ways that he would critique Eddington, you could now lobby against him. Like, you're grandstanding, you're taking the fate of the galaxy into your own hands and thinking that you're like the guy who can make this choice for everybody. You're not playing by the rules, and how do you know when you're still doing the right thing if you do that? So I think this episode does a really great job of bringing that arc to a new place where now Sisko is making really complicated choices, and he's gonna have to live with the consequences of doing that.
There was a lot of clear inspiration for this one from what I read. The Gulf of Tonkin incident, which was one of the inciting incidents of the Vietnam War, the Watergate scandal, just this idea of like, people do one bad thing but it causes such a huge ripple effect, and like, how worth it was it that you kind of cracked open the edges of society, of our government, and was that ultimately worth it? I see where they got all that from. This is like very tied into the 90s political climate of like, what are we doing in other countries? Like, and is it helping us in the long term? I like all of that stuff, and I think we really do need to underline how wonderful the performances are in this one.
Yeah, Avery Brooks is doing an amazing job.
Avery Brooks is doing an amazing job playing it like he's in, just go right back in Shakespeare, like before he was on Deep Space Nine. Of course, Andrew Robinson is Garrick. That speech that Garrick has in the tailor shop where Sisko like comes in and punches him and knocks him over, and he's like think about the lives that we just saved. Like, think about what was worth it. I didn't do this wrong. I didn't fuck up. I did all of this on purpose. Really reveals Garrick to be like the literary textbook definition of not just a tailor. He's got so much political savviness underneath that he's been hiding for the whole show. And when it's time to show it, he's like ready to fucking go.
And he makes the point to Sisko of like, you asked me for help, Garrick. Like, you know me.
That's
you know
what I do.
What I'm gonna do. You know that I'm gonna do the thing that you want to happen, but you're not comfortable with. So, like, did I assassinate that guy? Yeah, I assassinated that guy because you told me to.
Exactly.
Whether you said that or not, by bringing me into it, you requested those kinds of methods and choices. So that whole scene is, really great. I thought it was a really, really good scene.
There's one silly moment in this episode that I'll never forget as one of the silliest moments of Deep Space Nine, which is when is it the hypothetical version of what's going to happen when Senator Renak, the Romulan, realizes that the crystal they gave him is a fake?
It's real. That's a real.
That's really happening. Let me play that clip for the listener real quick.
It's a fake.
It's a fake.
That delivery was so good. Yeah.
He didn't have to do it like that. He just chose to put a little English on it. It's a fake. Yeah, truly silly in an otherwise very serious ep. And this is the thing, dude. I do give this an S in my notes. Like, I think this is great. But best episode of... people are like, one of the best episodes of TV. One of the best episodes of sci-fi. And I'm like, go read a book! Go read a whole book!
When you were talking earlier about the political context, it did make me think about how probably in the 90s...
This was amazing.
This felt like really like something. Because, it's within living memory, like you were saying, Gulf of Tonkin, Iran-Contra, like Bay of Pigs, I don't know, whatever. Like all of these different kind of, and coming up in the not too distant future, lies about WMDs and those kinds of things. So like it, I think probably felt a lot more current, a lot more daring to, on a major television show, portray this military leader who in theory is one of the good guys,
right?
Telling you to camera, like, I lied, I deceived people to get our allies into the war, to make it go a different way. And like, I don't know how I feel about that, but I did it and I would do it again. And it really kind of like musses up Sisko in a fascinating way.
Yeah.
But I think we just kind of came into this show with a different perspective on, it's not surprising to us that like a person in Sisko's position would do this kind of thing. So I don't think it hits quite as hard. Because I think the Gen X thing experience is like, oh, when I was a kid, everybody told me the government was cool, but actually they suck. And isn't that crazy? And for millennials, it's like, when I was a kid, everybody told me the government sucks, and they still do. Okay, keep getting worse.
Yeah.
So it probably hits us a little differently.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway after finishing it was like, that is a hard decision. I think you just kind of made the right decision, Sisko. Like, it's complicated, right? You did help initiate the further escalation of war, but like, you're already in it, you know? That's where I kind of landed. Was like, I didn't feel like that was beyond the pale, you know? And that was it. Speaking of pale, the other funny thing about this episode is that the title comes from the 1980s Batman movie. Which is fantastic, because they did not realize that when the Joker says, "Do you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?" that's not a literary quote. That's from that movie. They originated that line.
Oh, really? That's not a reference to something?
No, that's from Batman.
God, that's so funny.
So they named an episode after a Batman quote unintentionally.
That is so funny. Wow. My thing with this episode is like Sisko really just sort of talks himself into deciding that this is what needs to happen, because he has that little role play with Dax at the beginning where she plays the Romulan.
Yes.
And is like, give me some proof. And the real Romulan guy does say that, but I just feel like Sisko's a savvy enough diplomat that he could have come up with some other way of convincing these guys that they needed to join the war without like, it's sort of, he talks himself into the most extreme choices, and it's like, you didn't need to do that, man, but here we are.
Where do we rate it?
I said a B. Maybe we could split the difference and
Yeah.
say A. It's not an S to me, but it's pretty good.
Split it right down the middle. That's fine by me. It's a fake.
I love that the Romulans are in this half of the season.
Me too.
They're just so nasty and condescending. It's fun.
No, they're really cool. I want to see more Romulan stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick musical break, and when we come back, we'll be discussing season 6, episode 20, His Way. Back after this.
Greetings, Admiral Magellan and Commodore Allen. This is Lieutenant Commander Emrys. I can only hope that you've received this message. I have had to use rather esoteric means to get it to you. Since my last transmission, I was able to fling myself into an alternate dimension and back in time through inner space by repolarizing the hull and creating a tetryon loop. After escaping from this alternate universe, I found myself in the 1910s. It's been a busy time here. I was successful in preventing the assassination of Lenin by a time-traveling Romulan, so that good work on me, I guess. I wanted that to go down in my record, please. But in the meantime, I've found a method of recording this on a cylinder, which has been placed into a safe deposit box. A telegram will be delivered to your office at the appropriate time so that you can get this message in hopefully an appropriate manner where it'll be temporally relevant. So without further ado, here is my updated logs going forward for season 6 of Deep Space Nine, starting with episode 14, One Little Ship. This is a fun episode. I enjoy this one quite a bit. It's them doing the hijinks of the tiny runabout and the people running around on the Defiant trying to save the day from Jem'Hadar and occupation is just a good fun time. I give this one an A rank. Next up, season 15, Honor Among Thieves. It's a decent episode. It's nice to get more on the Orion Syndicate. I like it overall, but it's nothing amazing or super special. I'd give this one a B. So off to a decent start, but not amazing so far this season. Next up is episode 16, Change of Heart. I can barely remember this one, honestly. Oh, which one is it? It's the Worf sacrifices the mission of getting important Starfleet intelligence out to save Dax's life. It's pretty good when I really think about it, but it just kind of slides right out of my brain. Like a B minus, just because for some reason it just does not stick in there. Did not make much of an impression. Bringing us to episode 17, Wrongs Darker Than Death or Night. So this one's rank D. This is the one where Dukat calls up Kira to say, I fucked your mom. And so in response to this, she goes and finds an orb, gets permission to use the Orb of Time to go back and see if that's actually what happened. And it kind of is, but there's extenuating circumstances. And this could be an interesting episode about, the different ways people have to deal with occupation and how what to one person might seem like collaboration's just barely surviving and is still traumatic to someone else. But I don't know, it just doesn't pull it off that well. Kira realizes that her mom was being semi-coerced, totally coerced, but is what I would probably say. But also kind of somewhat tempted by the comforts and luxuries provided to her by being a mistress of Ducats, and almost kills her, but realizes not to. I don't know. It's just not amazing and has a lot of issues. Feel like it's messy, and the whole premise is kind of bad and poorly thought out. So not a good one in my mind. By the way, there's a big spread of Bajoran food at one point, and I want to point out that I can make a mean hasperat, just in case anyone ever wants some. It probably won't be good by the time it gets to you, a couple hundred years in the future, but let me know if you can. Or even better, come back and get me. It kind of don't need to keep existing here. Next is episode 18, Inquisition. This one's a C. This is the episode that introduces Section 31. It starts off interesting enough with Bashir being forced to not go to a conference because he's suspected of being an intelligence leak, but then it turns out to be a whole plot by this secret organization, and the organization is a no longer authorized section of what was once Starfleet in the Federation, but is now off on its own, that kind of is doing its own thing, and in any means necessary, morally dubious way to quote unquote protect the Federation while doing all types of, fashy garbage in the name of protecting the Federation. Like I said, the episode itself has some interesting stuff. I give it a C, but I do not like Section 31, and it only gets worse from here. This is the best Section 31 ep. Fuck Section 31. I just think the concept kind of makes the Federation worse in pretty much every way. You either have a Federation that's only able to survive due to a secret, unauthorized group of people going around doing heinous shit, or you have a Federation that's aware of the existence of a secret group going around doing heinous shit to keep it existing. And either way, I don't like how that repaints stuff in the Federation. Moving on to episode 19. Now, this one is a great episode. I'd give this one an S rank for sure. This is the one where Sisko ends up working with Garrick to try and coerce / connive the Federation Romulan alliance to come into place so that the Romulans will join the war against the Dominion. And Garrick, of course, is willing to do anything to do this, and Sisko begrudgingly goes along with it and has to do some things that are pretty reprehensible in what he feels is a way that has to be done to support the greater good. And I like this one because it's not some secret out group doing it. It's, the characters and the major characters we know dealing with these decisions, making a decision, making possibly the wrong decision, and then having to deal with the consequence of that decision, and at the end being completely broken up and trying to put on the face that he would do the same decision again, and that he made the right decision, while knowing that deep down he probably didn't agree with what he did, and having to sit with that and sit with the trauma of that. And I just think it is much more interesting when it's the actual main characters and, instead of an outside group. So I really think the comparison of these two kind of highlights how you can do interesting stuff in Star Trek about complex and difficult and sometimes even making decisions that are not necessarily the most morally upright, without having to create a secret organization to make the bad decisions for you that supports everything behind the scenes. So I think it's a great comparison. It's kind of funny these two are right next to each other, and the difference between the two I think is huge. Moving on, next, episode 20 is His Way. This is the episode where Vic Fontaine gets introduced, and he helps Odo with his romance with Kira. I'm not a big Kira Odo romance person. It's I don't know. Sometimes it's okay. Other times I just don't feel like it's that great. The episode itself, I kind of okay on. I give this one a B. I like Vic a lot. He comes up in other episodes and is a great character in those. So I give it, I think, a boost up to a B because Vic's great. So next up is episode 21, The Reckoning. This is the episode where a Pa-wraith possesses Jake and a prophet possesses Kira, and they have a Dragon Ball Z battle, but stand very still while doing it. While Sisko is willing to trust the prophets and let the battle commence, even though Jake is at risk from the battle, he trusts that the prophets will win and also save Jake, while Kaiwin, who, as we all know, is the religious leader of the Bajorans, has a crisis of faith and ends up flooding the station with radiation that will kill or drive off both the prophet and the Pa-wraith. She fails that trial of faith and leads to, instead of ending the conflict between the Pa-wraiths and the prophets, creating further ripples that we'll see later this season. And I just think it's a good episode. Rank this one an A for sure. Number 22, Valiant. This one's also an A. This is about the Jake and Nog are the primary characters. They are on a mission to deliver a message between the Federation and the Ferengi Alliance. They are attacked by Jemadar and are rescued by the USS Valiant, which was out on a senior training cruise with 7 officers and 33 cadets. They were attacked caught behind enemy lines when the war broke out, and all the officers were taken out of commission, and the cadets who were part of Red Squad, which is a little continuity from back in the episode where one of the admirals tried to institute martial law on Earth and take control of the Federation, was using Red Squad as well. They one of them was given a promotion to acting captain on the field, and then he used that to promote all the rest of the cadets up to officers on the ship. So it's a bunch of cadets who out on their training mission running a Defiant class warship. They have a mission that they got from Starfleet that wants them to track down a Dominion battleship, and part of the mission is they're supposed to be on radio silence, and they are following the mission, but when Starfleet issued the orders, they had no idea that all the officers on board were killed, and these cadets are not willing to break orders to update them about the situation, so they're running around being gung-ho about it, completely out of their depths. Nog loves Red Squad, and so is going along helping them, but Jake realizes that these guys actually don't know shit about fuck when it comes to being in a war situation, and keeps warning them how what they're doing is going to get them all killed, which basically comes to pass. They attack the Dominion battleship. Their plan doesn't work. The Valiant gets destroyed. Only a couple escape pods get out. Only one of those, I believe, even survives, and that's of course, the one that has Jake and Nog and the engineering girl that they were made friends with in it. And finally, at the end, Nog realizes that while the acting captain was brave, he also was a bad captain, and that it takes more to realize and work in these wartime situations than just being a brave and being a highly decorated cadet. So again, this one I would say is an A. Oh God, this brings me to episode 23, Prophet and Lace. I am going to bring back up the rank I suggested to Commodore Allen when I was on with him a few episodes ago, and put this one in the rank so bad it sucks. You know what? Just fuck this episode. I'm not going to talk about this episode. This episode can go to hell. And I'll move on from there. Leading us to episode 24, Time's Orphan. This one's an A. It's a fun one. I always like a good O'Brien and Keiko episode, and anytime they get to have the focus is good. This doesn't get up to S. Actually, now thinking about it, maybe this is a B+, actually. So move it to B+, just because there's no consequences at the end. They are able to say, kind of reset everything. This is the episode where they are on vacation and Molly falls in a cave that teleports her back in time. They try and transport her back out of it, but they grab her years in the future where she's grown up on this uninhabited world, kind of as a, quote unquote feral, which I don't know if that's great terminology, their person, and she has a real tough time adjusting in DS9 and wants to go back to the planet. Eventually, they break her out because she's being held for attacking someone, I believe, and take her to the planet and send her back. But they slightly screw up sending her back so that she gets back there right after little Molly fell through the initial anomaly, and is able to save that Molly by sending her back. It's, like I said, kind of puts a little damper on what's otherwise an interesting and I think kind of fun episode, and I like the acting out of everybody, but the ending, just resetting everything and taking away the consequences and everything, kind of puts a slight damper on it that pushes it down, I'd say, to a B when I think about it more. So that brings me on to 25, The Sound of Her Voice, which is another timey-wimey episode. In this one, the Defiant is trying to reach a stranded Starfleet officer. They're able to establish two-way communications with her, and are all chatting with her, trying to help her, keep her hopes up that they'll make it in time, and they're doing everything to get there. She's on a barely habitable L-class planet, and they are trying to, she's running out of time, and the inhospitable environment is starting to get to her. Also of importance on this one is Cassidy's on the Defiant with them. She was a convoy liaisons officer, and so is with them, and it's causing stress between her and Sisko because it's kind of mixing his personal life with his, professional captain life, and that's creating extra strain on the relationship. And he realizes, well, he really loves Cassidy. He's not able to mix that personal life with his, role as being captain on the ship. When they finally get to the planet, they go down in a shuttle and discover that the officer has been dead for years. The planet had some barrier around it, which is what initially caused her ship to crash. And the barrier was shifting the messages through time, so her messages were going to the future and their messages were coming to the past, so they could talk to each other, even though she had been dead for years by the time they get there. Which brings us finally to Tears of the Prophet. This one's a A+, I have to say. So Sisko and Martok and everyone are planning a major attack on a Dominion-controlled space. Dominion is setting up these emplacements there that are heavily shielded, and they want to try and get there and take out the emplacements before they come online, because it'll make the attack that much harder. Right before the attack, the prophets pop in on Sisko and tell him, "Yo, dog, don't do this. It's going to go real bad if you leave DS9 right now. You need to be here." But he doesn't listen because he puts the war first in this, and his role as a Starfleet captain over his role as the emissary. Meanwhile, Dukat has convinced the Dominion to help him come up with a plan to quote-unquote solve the wormhole problem. He has found out about Pares and prophets from his time being on the occupation, and realizes that the prophets / wormhole aliens are the issue that they need to deal with. So he lets a Pare possess him, and then comes to Deep Space Nine with that Pare in hopes of destroying otherwise attacking the prophets. He goes to the temple on Deep Space Nine, where they have one of the orbs of the prophets, and to use that as a vector to attack them. Dax, who had stayed behind from the attack, goes in there because she's thinking about she and Worf want to have kids, and goes in there to just for to kind of drawn there for religious experience reasons, and walks in and Dukat / Pawraith is there, who kills her. Then the Pawraith leaves Dukat and goes into the orb, which turns black. The wormhole closes up, and Sisko loses his connection to the prophets as well. So despite the Federation and the war going well, it's caused a major issue on the prophet wormhole side of things. Sisko realizes that if he'd stay behind, maybe Dax would still be alive, and the wormhole wouldn't be closed up. He could have maybe prevented this. That's what the prophets were warning about. And kind of in guilt and racked with, the difficulty of trying to balance out being the emissary and being part of Starfleet, takes a leave of absence and goes to Earth to his dad's restaurant to try and, clear his head and see if he can figure things out. So that brings me to the end of the season. Season 6 is okay. It's, again, not my favorite season. I like season 5 more. There's not really as many S's, especially in the second half. More D's and B, C's, I would say, than some of the other seasons. But it's not a bad season, and I overall still enjoy it. But again, I just want to reiterate, fuck Prophet and Lace. It can go die in a fire. And hope you all are having a good time. And I look forward to trying to get in touch with you again somehow. Emrys out.
Welcome back to TrekChatz, the show where two people who've never watched Star Trek, at least the episodes that they're talking about, watch them for the first time and talk about them. I'm Magellan, that's Allen. Hey, Allen, how you doing?
Bonjour. Bon tarde.
Bonjour. Yes, good afternoon to you as well. We watched the second half of Deep Space Nine Season 6. We're going to talk about it.
It's
Starting with episode 20.
It's Bon Après Midi. Come on, don't get French and Spanish mixed up. Fuck!
Whoopsie
Sorry.
daisy. Speaking of romance languages,
Ooh, good.
we're talking about episode 20, His Way. You're nobody till somebody loves you. If you're a fan of the Rat Pack, then you're going to love this.
If you're Ira Stephen Bear and you're a fan of the Rat Pack, you're gonna make a whole character who becomes a recurring character on your show out of a Rat Pack.
Oh, man. So essentially, okay. How do I get into talking about this? Yesterday, when recording this, there was a bunch of discourse on Bluesky. There was like an op-ed that somebody wrote about how a big problem is that young men want to get laid. And there's nobody on the left who's talking to them about how to get laid.
What is
And
happening?
like, that's what needs to be done. Like, there's all these alpha male influencers who are giving young men advice
Sure.
about getting laid.
Sure.
And also along with it, there's all this like conservative propaganda. And then of course, everybody on Bluesky is like, this is a really stupid take. It's like such a dumb take. But the reason that I thought about it is because there's a moment where Bashir is like, yeah, I've been hanging out with this guy, Vic. And he's like this lounge singer in Las Vegas in the holodeck. And he's been giving me great lady advice. And everyone's like, what? Okay, I guess we'll come see him perform.
So your take is that Vic Fontaine is kind of the like red pill Joe Rogan podcaster of or Andrew Tate of DS9. Except he's not.
My take is that Vic is that guy of the left. It's who we need. Like this is what we need, is sort of a guy who's like, hey, Pally, you ever try saying your feelings? Anyway, let's listen to some standards from the American Book of Song. Ooh, it's only a paper moon. Hanging over. So this is the aesthetic that we need. This sort of like Tony Bennett fucking Louis Prima fucking who's the guy that I'm thinking of? Not Frank Sinatra, but the other guy.
Dean Martin.
Dean Martin, thank you. We need like a Dean Martin type of guy. And then Odo's like, whoa, you give lady advice? I need some of that lady advice because I'm in love with a lady and you noticed it right away. And Vic's like, okay, sure. Have you tried asking her on a date or talking to her? And Odo's like, no. And he's like, okay, well, do that. I'll do it for you, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the episode. I don't know. What'd you think? Did you have fun with this one? Do you think it was kind of weird or what?
Okay, so the TNG writers were really big fans of Sherlock Holmes and of mystery books. So they were like, oh, all of our holodeck stuff is people digging into, what if I was a detective? What if I was this? I think Bear and company are just big Rat Pack people. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's an okay, if somewhat racially challenging corner of American history. I do consider Sammy Davis Jr., for what it's worth, a member of the Rat Pack, but that's a bigger issue. Bigger than surface level records, as John Delaney once said. And that's cool. It's kind of like seeing somebody's fandom on full display. Like the fact that Vic Fontaine is not only the matchmaker of the episode, but is like gonna go on to become a regular on the show in season 7. It's like, wow, that is such a choice. You know, it's the third act of a Baldur's Gate game where they're like, here's a new party member, and you're like, who are you? At the last party member you get, and they expect you to be like, oh, you're gonna want this guy and go back. You could go back to the other planets and bring him sooner. I'm like, Vic Fontaine is the guy? That part's all really weird to me. I also don't know if I support Odo being with Kira at all. I don't think I like it. Did I want it for a while? Yeah, I think I definitely said I wanted it. I love the yearning, though. I didn't want Odo to get this kind of this clean, wipe your hands of it. Yep, he got exactly the girl that he wanted, and she likes him back, and it's perfect. No. That part bugged me, the fact that this worked. The comedy of errors of, like, Vic brought both of them thinking they would both think they're doing it. It's like Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal. Like, both think that they're practicing the interaction, and it's actually real. Both of them.
I think only Odo thinks it's fake. I think Kira thinks it's real.
Oh, but Kira didn't know that Odo thought it was fake.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay. Still, both of them are like, what the fuck, Vic? And then just, oh, I guess this does work for us. I guess we have to tackle it, Magellan. How do we feel ultimately about Odo and Kira being paired up now?
Well, I wanted to talk about Vic Fontaine a little bit, and
sure.
then I have thoughts on that. Because it definitely feels like if you're a Star Trek writer's room and you're gonna do holodeck stuff, you're gonna do it about the things that were like kind of cool and retro when you were 10. So for the TNG writers, it's like Sherlock Holmes. Maybe there's some like King Arthur stuff or something.
Yeah.
And then for this writer's room, it's like 50s. The 50s sci-fi magazine stuff, the 50s music type of stuff. And I like those things too. Like I knew almost all the songs in the episode.
Yeah.
And what I really love about this episode is it's essentially a jukebox musical of those songs into a love story between Odo and Kira.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty fun. But knowing that Vic Fontaine's going to come back and be a recurring character is pretty strange. And especially when he starts like calling Odo on the comm link outside of the program.
Yes.
Like going between the programs in the different holo suites.
Just introduce a character at this point. They're not a hologram anymore. That's just a guy who's on the ship.
Right. And also at that point, when that happened at TNG, in TNG, it was Moriarty, and we were scared. We were like, this is this is bad that a holodeck program is essentially sentient enough to like manipulate us and go between holosuites and stuff. That's like a security concern. So it was hard for me to enjoy it because it's like, whoa. You're telling me the chief of station security is cool with a holodeck giving him a phone call? That feels like a problem. Those systems should not be able to interface with each other.
Well, this is happening at the same time as Voyager having a hologram doctor. So, like,
right.
we are well past hologram sentience being an issue in the 90s of Star Trek, and we're just like, oh, yeah, that's a character on the show.
It's different for the doctor, though, because that is like a program operating within the scope of what it was designed to do that then kind of is used too much and gains a sort of personality. Whereas here, it's like something is breaking loose of what it's supposed to be doing. It's less that like the holodeck can communicate with Odo and more that there's some kind of like technological link or interface where the holodeck can communicate with the comm system, can do this, can do that.
Yeah.
Because then there's like, that's just a serious security concern.
Correct.
And to me feels like Vic Fontaine could like take over Deep Space Nine if you wanted to.
Yeah. Let's see how that happens. Let's see when that happens in season 7 for sure.
Yeah, that would be pretty fun. But I would love a Star Trek show that from episode 1 is like, by the way, our holodeck doesn't work anymore. It can only go to Las Vegas to Vic Fontaine's lounge. That's the only place you can go in the holodeck. He's there singing all the time. And there's no ship's counselor because Vic Fontaine is the counselor. Everybody goes and tells him about their problems.
Who needs Guinan when you have Vic Fontaine?
Exactly. He's the Guinan character. I would really laugh at that and enjoy that. We're going to do all these royalty-free songs because we can. That's pretty fun. Anyway, so yeah, this episode gets us to Odo and Kira being together, which I also do not like that happened.
Why don't we like it?
I think for me, it is just kind of a broader thing that I have a distaste for now because I used to like this trope so much as a younger person, which is the like, we're friends and I'm in love with her, but she doesn't like me back. But one day she is going to realize that actually she does like me back. And that's going to be great when that happens. And there's just so much of that in media. There's so much. Vic even has this moment where he's like, hey, just because she doesn't like you, you know, you could still convince her. You just got to say the right thing. And I think that that's really pernicious because it communicates to men that like
there's a code. There's a cheat code.
There's a cheat code and like women don't know what they want until you sort of like tell them what they're supposed to want. That any kind of like friend boundary is permeable if you know how to permeate it. And I think that that's really I think that's harmful for like kind of patriarchal misogynistic reasons. And I think it also damages the ability of men and women to like form friendships because there's like, you can't trust that the friendship is firmly a friendship.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this as someone who like, I have started relationships with people who I was a friend with before, and that can be a really special thing. I've also had that like not work out. And I think the main takeaway for me is just like, this trope maybe once gave me a kind of solace, but I think really actually it has an isolating effect and a confusing effect. So I don't like it because of what it represents. That's separate from how the narrative of Deep Space Nine is operating. Within the context of Deep Space Nine, like maybe I think I'm invested in Odo and Kira forming a more intimate relationship with them, between the two of them. I don't know that it needs to be romantic or sexual per se. It definitely doesn't feel correct for him to like dip her and kiss her on the promenade at the end of the episode, like
in front of everyone, including Morn. Sorry,
poor Morn is being scandalized.
Exactly.
I just don't read their relationship as this kind of like passionate, like there's a lounge singer crooning and it's so romantic. And all Kira wanted was to be taken out to a nice dinner, because that's what girls want, is they want like a nice dinner and they want to be swept off their feet. And it's like, I don't know what that was, but it was loud music outside. Very loud bass, shaking my whole life right now.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, it's rattling me. But like, I loved the episode where they were at Dax's bachelorette party and they spend the whole night just talking in the closet.
Yeah.
Like, that's their relationship. They are friends, and that friendship, I think, plausibly can slowly turn into love, and you can realize like, oh, we're actually in love with each other. We're so close and intimate. We know each other so well. We trust each other so much. Essentially, our friendship has every component of love, and now it's time to kiss. And that feels more like what it should be, as opposed to like, we're going to do this kind of pastiche of like a stylish romantic thing, so they can have a kiss. So I don't know. That's why I didn't like it personally.
I gotcha. It's not that I want to push back. I think I just disliked it for different reasons.
Yes,
because
that's what it sounded like.
Yeah. Vic's point to Odo is not just you need to impress her and you need to say the right things. It's also like you need to say how you feel, dog. Because the problem that also, this is like where it's good advice and why you're kind of joking that like he's the anti-MRA type, is he's saying, if you like her, then pining after her and like beating yourself up about her having boyfriends and being sexually active with other people, you're just going to work yourself into a shoot, dude. Like, you're going to make yourself angry and depressed forever. If you just tell her any of that and be very explicit about what you want, then like, now at least you know. If she rejects you, then like she rejects you. He's not saying you need to be a better, cooler, smarter person. He's just saying like, you get your confidence from like role playing your confidence a little bit. And then once you've done that enough, you can actually find it. And I think that's good advice, especially for young men. It's like, if you don't feel confident about something, it's not just like, oh, just talk to her. What's the worst that can happen? It's try to be the person who would want to talk, who could talk to her, see what that feels like. And then just, you kind of need to make your intentions clear. Cause this can sometimes happen is they go, oh yeah, I actually like you back. I was waiting for you to say it. Because that's the truth, is Kira has complicated feelings about Odo, but now that a lot of the men in her life have gone or had problematic issues, like this Odo is the most stable man in her life right now. That's where I understand the romance coming from. But what I ultimately don't like about it is it discounts the idea that they could have just been friends and like strengthen that friendship. Because the back third of the season is also about everyone being like, fuck, I actually really love Dax. I'm so sad that Worf got Dax. And it's like, no. That's never been how we felt about Jadzia Dax. I know that's always been underneath, but it's uncomfortable to me that we're all suddenly like, man, I really wanted to fuck Dax. And it's like, no, stop it. Can you guys just be normal about the women in your life?
Yeah, it's this. I think part of it is also, like you're saying, this is happening in the context of the back half of a 6th season, where it feels like a lot of the time on shows, when you get this far into the run, every character will start looking around like, hey,
last ship out of last helicopter out of Vietnam. Who can I be with?
Yeah, exactly. But I agree with you. What I really love about Odo's arc in the episode is this belief that he has early on of like, okay, well, my life is just stuck the way it is. I like her. She doesn't like me back. She likes this other guy. And Vic is like, okay, but you got to say what you feel, because like you're saying, otherwise you're just going to get stuck in it. And then it's really, I think, brilliant the way that Odo goes through talking to like the character who looks like Kira, and he's like, well, this isn't realistic. She's not acting like Major Kira. He doesn't believe that Kira is actually herself when she's there, because I think fundamentally he believes that like she wouldn't like him back. She wouldn't have a nice time with him on a date. So if things are going well, like it can't possibly be the real her. And for that to then be challenged and for Vic to be like, okay, but that is the real her and it's going fine because you tried to go on the date and she likes it, I think is a good experience for Odo to have and makes sense kind of in the context of him being like the autistic representation or like the socially anxious representation. There is something to like, yeah, you have to play the part a little bit. You have to sort of externalize your emotions. And if you're neurodivergent, sometimes like that just doesn't come naturally to you, or you start to develop a cynicism about whether you're even able to do that or if it will be received well. And there are ways that you can just kind of like throw yourself into it and find faith in the fact that it's going to turn out fine. And that's kind of what you have to do to like get started and put yourself out there. I think my issue with that is just that advice of like, you need to say the thing that you feel is so often presented in TV and movies with the outcome of, and because you said how you feel, she likes you back. When in actuality, like, it might not turn out that way. And you still need to say the thing that you feel, because like you're saying, the alternative is being trapped in like this awful limbo state of like liking someone and finding the sort of safety in unrequited love.
Yes. This is exactly, by the way, where it intersects with how I have historically felt about like when I was younger about crushes and stuff. It's like, oh, it's just easier if it's in my head. It's like, yeah, but then you never experience like the real joy that you deserve. And yes, saying what you feel sometimes leads to them reciprocating. Sometimes it doesn't. And in the corollary that's so crucial is, and that's okay. It's actually fine if Odo was like, here, I like you, and I know that we work together, but I really want this to be something. And she goes, I'm not ready for that, or I'm not interested. And then he doesn't hate her. He doesn't, the friendship strengthens. That is how it works in real life. That is how sometimes male-female friendships can blossom sometimes.
Yeah, because I think the crucial thing is, you know, you can get into the headspace of, okay, I have feelings for this person. I don't want to express them because they're not going to be reciprocated. That's going to feel bad. Oh, but I'm being told that I should express my feelings because then maybe they will reciprocate them, but I know that they're not going to. And it's like, but you need to get yourself out of that stasis, not necessarily to have the feelings reciprocated, but just to be able to like live true to how you feel and eventually find a situation with someone where you are having your feelings reciprocated. Bingo. Even if it's not this person, if you're getting yourself stuck in pining for this person who doesn't like you back, the solution isn't avoid telling them because you don't want to feel bad. The solution is like, say your piece or don't, but then like move on,
do something else,
and bring your attention and your heart elsewhere, because like ultimately you're trapping yourself in this thing because it's familiar to you. So yeah, I don't know, but it's a fun episode. There's a lot of fun singing. It's very stylish. It's like, you know,
Odo plays the keys.
It
gives him the power in the hologram world to play the keyboard, the piano. That's all fine and good. And then Odo says, what's the greatest line of this episode? French is a language of love. And you're like, Odo, you fucking dog. That's all. I want to move through the rest of these episodes relatively quickly. I think that this one is a comfortable B.
I agree.
Messy,
comfortable B,
but it is good. It's just not great.
Yeah, there are a couple just quick things. At the beginning, Vic is trying to explain, like, if you don't do this, you'll be not cool, and then he's like, you'll be a square. You know what a square is, right? And O'Brien
one side
says,
of a cube.
It's one side of a cube. Vic tells Odo it's not the other guy you have to worry about, it's you. That's good advice. He says to Odo over the comms, I'll see you tonight, 9:00. That's 2100 to you. And Odo says, I know.
I know how normal
Didn't
time
have
works.
to tell me that. I also thought there was a really great musical moment where Odo and Kira are dancing and Vic is singing I've Got You Under My Skin, and they dance into frame and then pause in the center of the frame right when the music goes stop.
Yeah.
And we're lingering with this. There's no
Yes.
instrumentation. Before I begin, I thought that was
So
really well
good.
directed.
Yes. I noticed that.
Yeah. And then the last little note I have is Odo comes back after he and Kira kiss, and Vic's like, so it's going pretty well, huh? And Odo's like, yeah, maybe, but it might all be awful. And Vic says, that's my Odo, always ready to turn victory into defeat.
Boom.
And that's pretty good.
Called
so
out.
it's a B. It's a fun one. His way.
His way. Next up is 621, The Reckoning, which is a bizarre episode.
Strange episode.
Kai Wynn comes back on the ship. Everyone's favorite kind of villain, basically villain. She's an evil person, but in a complicated way. And she tells Sisko about this Bajoran artifact because they dug it up. And she's like, this belongs to the Bajorans, don't touch it. And then his like prophet power inspires anger in him to crack open this tablet, which releases a Pakmara and a Bajoran like prophet spirit, or not Bajoran spirit. The prophecy that Kai Wynn has been warning him about is that the two are going to battle on Terok Nor, and the winner will determine the fate of the Bajoran people. And the way that this is manifested in the show is that the blue light goes into Kira, presumably by her own choice, and the red light goes into everybody's favorite little boy. It's Jake Sisko. Jake is this Pakmara, and his spirit and Kira's spirit battle with like a fucking Dragon Ball Z anime light battle. We're worried that it's going to kill him. And then Kai Wynn makes the controversial decision to pull the plug and to flood the room with radiation so that both spirits are released, which does bad things for the Bajorans that we'll have to see in the future. But it means that Jake and Kira live. So only thing I really have takes about this is like Kai Wynn's up to some fucking stuff. And I don't know what her long-term plan is other than she wants praise, as Kira says later. Like, you want it all. Kira dresses her down in a great scene at the end here. You do all this for clout and ambition. The evil that you just kept around is going to make everything on Bajor worse. Like, we just got over shit. It's supposed to be here. You're supposed to be the spiritual person who believes in faith, and you're jealous of the fact that Sisko is more faithful than you. And that the prophets like him more. So how do we deal with that? What did you think of The Reckoning, Magellan?
Yeah, I like seeing Kai Wynn. I think the thing to take away from her in this episode is like she doesn't really have a plan. She's kind of just like a short-sighted opportunist, especially now that she has everything that she ever wanted. And Kira kind of says that about her to Sisko, like, well, she doesn't like you because she spent her whole life trying to become the Kai, and then here you are, the emissary, and she can't be the emissary because you are the emissary. So she's kind of stuck with everything she ever wanted, but still not having it. So there's this like resentment that she feels. And also she has, genuine religious belief. Like when she senses the presence of the prophets and sees that the prophecy is happening, she immediately is genuflecting and like, what can I do to help the prophets? So she's not like totally a dishonest character. And, I think they do a good job of always kind of leaving her true motivations ambiguous, because she makes the choice to like interrupt this clash of titans to save Jake and Benjamin and Kira. And it's like, oh, okay. You could either read that as her saving their lives or read that as her wanting to be the hero. And the truth is, it's both of those things. She's going to do stuff that benefits her, and she cares about other people. And she's kind of just like that. That's how she is. Yeah. So I liked her presence in this episode. I thought all this like spirit fight stuff was kind of dumb. But whatever.
Babylon 5 did it better. I hate to keep saying it.
Yeah.
Um,
I just have no interest in the prophets actually prophesizing and having like this stuff going on. I like them better as kind of, we're just beings that exist outside of time, so we know a lot of stuff about the future and we're enigmatic, and that's why they worship us.
Right.
And we kind of like them, so we're going to protect Bajor. But
Mhm.
that's it. Like, we're not actually gods or anything. We're just weird aliens that have like weird powers.
That's okay.
And I don't love that they're making it more metaphysical. Yeah.
I think in my hypothetical video essay about Kai Wynn, what ultimately makes her an interesting antagonist in the show is that her arc is not linear. We're used to TV characters having linear arcs. I think Wynn was set up in season 1 or 2, whatever, when she authorized the blowing up of the school, of like, oh, this is firmly like one of the villains of the show. And then the last couple of times we've seen her, she's become a lot more accepting of Sisko as the prophet. Seemingly growing out of it and being like, okay, your role is yours and mine is mine. We just like approach things differently. And then this one just does, it kind of resets it back. It regresses her to a more antagonistic role again. And I know the fans for a while were like, what the fuck is Kai Wynn? But I think it's just, she's like a person, she's a person who still hasn't figured out how she relates to Sisko yet and to all of this prophecy stuff. I think it's super interesting in that way.
And she's kind of as evil as there is things for her to attain. When she's in the position where she could become the Kai, she's almost there. She's kind of at her most calculating and like immoral. But now that she's in this position of power and has to do the stuff that a Kai does and has all the power that she can conceivably get, she's like, all right, I guess I'll just be cool now, because there's no reason for me to be like a cynical actor.
Correct.
And maybe she senses a moment in this one where she can kind of like discredit Sisko, and that's where we see the edge come back in. But it's sort of like, to what extent is she a bad person versus she's really swayed by these sort of incentive systems that reward her for doing bad things. It's interesting.
This is a B.
Yeah, it's fine. I thought Nana Visitor looked so cool with like the lightning and the red eyes or whatever. It kind of made me wish that she had been the right age.
She had the blue eyes.
The blue eyes. Like when the kind of superhero movie wave came about and really started crashing, 10, 15 years ago. I think Nana Visitor would have been a real cool superhero or supervillain. And they still could do that, but Hollywood's Hollywood.
Sirach Lofton doesn't look as cool because they just like put craggly, wrinkly makeup on him.
Yeah, and he's got that big vest on. It's like,
it's just not.
I don't know.
He doesn't have aura.
This look good. Yeah, no aura, negative aura. Okay. Speaking of Jake Sisko, let's talk about episode 22, Valiant. So essentially, the plot of Valiant is Nog is going to bring Jake home to his hometown and is kind of embarrassed because it's like, oh, what if you meet my high school friends and you don't get along and I don't know how this is going to go. But then they get a flat tire by the side of the space and they get picked up by a bunch of cool teens in a cool ship. And then we spend the episode there on board the Valiant, which is a ship like the Defiant that is entirely crewed by teenagers. Members of Starfleet's Red Squad, who we first met when Wesley Crusher was going to Starfleet, right? We first became aware of Red Squad as a thing.
I think so. I'm not, but I was Googling and it's like, are these not the same people or the same group?
Maybe it's a different group.
Or maybe it's different people in Red Squad, maybe? But
it's not the same people as TNG,
of course.
But I think it's the same concept.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, though. The, like, young people who did the crimes I think that was more so Google or Memory Alpha is confirming the group we're thinking of in TNG was Nova Squadron.
Oh, okay. So there's a different thing.
Yes. But same exact idea. There's different squadrons. It's the same. It is like narratively the exact same idea of these are young people who have trained so hard. And the thing, here's an interesting thing. I have people in my work who are like in going to college, like our interns go to college, like to military college. This is a really accurate portrayal of how young people can like kind of fall into line and like how you become a consummate member of a military unit. It's like really, it felt starkly accurate to me from what I've seen.
Yeah. Because these are essentially like the cream of the crop students
Yes,
at Starfleet. And they were put on this ship for a tour of duty where the idea was like they would essentially be running the ship, but there would be experienced Starfleet officers there to supervise, watch them in action, and kind of like correct them as they were doing it, so they could get real on the job experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then the war breaks out in the midst of them doing this tour of duty, and the ship is attacked. The adult members of the crew die. The captain, with his dying breath, confers captainship upon the sort of the main guy here. What's his name? Waters. Captain Waters. And from there, Captain Waters is like, well, we could all go home to our parents and be safe at home, go back to school, or we could just like play military time on the ship forever. So we're going to do that.
This will go fine.
Yeah. And exactly what you're saying. This episode is really about like that fantasy, and the way that young people in these contexts will take up like the military myth and enact it with great enthusiasm because they mistake that for maturity. And they think like, oh, the mature thing to do is to be like the military heroes who are going to go in and do the hard mission that nobody else can do. And we can do it because we're the best. We're Red Squad. We've been told our whole lives that we're like super competent and able to do this. And it's the tension between that idea and someone like Jake Sisko, who's like, I know the best adults and you guys are not those guys. Like, you guys are kids. What are we doing here? This is ridiculous.
It just takes Jake and Nog to crack that egg so quickly. You know, Jake talks to someone and says, what's back home like? And then minutes later, she's crying. Waters is like, what did you do to her? And it's like, I just told her what she should have been thinking about, that there's like people at home waiting for you. And suddenly she's like, I forgot that I'm a scared young child who is in war and not ready and in over her head. Yeah. Waters' leadership style only works on the assumption that we're all big kids and we don't have young adult feelings. Soon as it's revealed that no, we are young adults, they can't do it anymore. And the mission goes terribly.
Yeah. And it's a leadership style that comes from like war movies and
for sure
this idea of what a cool general guy is supposed to be like. I love that he just keeps giving speeches, and his speeches are really rambly and condescending, full of cliches, because that's what he thinks leadership is, when in reality leadership is a lot more nuanced than that. And so, because we've seen it from Picard and from Sisko, what it looks like when someone has to make hard choices, when they care about the people who serve them, who serve under them, and are like empathetic towards them. And it's easy for us as an audience to kind of see that contrast and feel the tragedy of this group of kids who are trying to play at being so much older than they actually are.
Yeah. So the way it wraps up is they do attack the ship, and they get attacked back. Almost all of them are killed. We have one surviving female member of the crew who's brought back to DS9 and has a little chat with Jake and Nog where they're like, man, I don't know if that crew is even good. And she says, it was a bad captain and a good crew. Those were good people, and that's how I wanted
she was like, no, the captain was great.
Right. And then the Nog is the one who's like, it's not a good captain. You have to accept that he didn't do it right. So that's sort of the parting message, the history that they want to bring on, and when people ask about Red Squad. I think although the acting this one's a little corny because it's teenagers, that's to be expected. This is still an A episode for emotional heft and a good war story.
I would say it's an S for me personally.
I don't really have any complaints about it. No, I don't have any complaints about it. It does have Morn early in the episode, which is really crucial.
It is crucial
for any S.
I think this is a fantastic Jake Nog episode because it takes like the conflict between them that we saw when they became roommates, and Nog's like wanting everything to be neat, and Jake's like, you gotta chill out, man, and it was funny, and putting that in a context where there's real big stakes to it.
Yeah.
Where Nog is fully drinking the Kool-Aid of the Valiant, and Jake's like, I feel like I'm having a conversation with one of the bulkheads.
Right.
He says to Nog, I don't even know who you are anymore. Nog says, I'm an engineer of the Starship Valiant. And Jake says, I'll have them put that on your tombstone.
Great line.
Such a dumbass. And it's so rich when Nog is like, Jake, you don't know anything about being a soldier. When it's like, bro, my dad is captain of Deep Space Nine. Like, my mom died in a war battle. Like, I know this shit and the cost of it. Don't talk to me like you're brand new all of a sudden.
Right.
So I love that scene between the two of them. And I thought the acting was like, yeah, corny, but like these kids were pretty well directed, I think.
Yes.
To do like a very specific thing, if not a super technical job, a very nuanced job, I think.
Agreed. Yeah, no, it's remembering Jake and Nog in season 1 with Nog being like, we're gonna go see girls, and Jake being like, I don't know, my friend wants to go to Starfleet. Like, they have the biggest character arcs, the fucking furthest they are away from their start. It's kind of remarkable.
Yeah, they've really grown up.
So yeah, I would give this an S.
Nice.
Right. So you, the listener, you're like, wow, we did it. Season 6, we're back on track. Great stuff. Let's go. Keep it up. Keep the pace up. Keep running, guys. Wait, what's that? A brick wall? That's right, folks. It's 623 Profit and Lace, which is often cited as the worst episode of DS9 and one of the most transphobic episodes of TV, according to a newsletter I read this week. Okay, I will introduce this one because I have an emotional stake in it, and because I do like Quark, and I want the Ferengi stories to be better, and I really wanted to be the defender of this one. But the gimmick is that the Grand Nagasek is still dating Quark's mom, dating Moogie, or they're married, or they're like in a serious relationship, and she has been encouraging him to give rights to Ferengi women. That includes allowing them to wear clothes. So she comes on to Deep Space Nine, and he's like, whoa, that she wears clothes now. All women can wear clothes. Let's keep going from there, though. We have another person who's trying to depose the Grand Nagus. Now we have fucking Brunt, that one Ferengi that nobody cares about. And he has some debates, and he's going to be coming on for a big discussion with a Ferengi woman. But there's an issue, and she's not able to be there. So instead, we need a woman here who he doesn't recognize. And so Quark decides to become a woman for this episode and do, honestly, some pretty good drag, if we're being honest. I mean, that's a freaking stylish outfit.
Quark was serving in that.
100%.
No,
the thing is that Rom is serving mentally and Quark is serving physically. And if you just combine those two, you'd have a perfect woman. The problem, ultimately, with Profit and Lace is that it is framed as a comedy. And the transphobia comes from the fact that Quark dressing as a woman is really supposed to be really funny. Really funny. And like, no matter how hard the episode goes to be like, no, but it's about us getting women's rights. Like, at the core of it, so much of the slapstick is, look at that guy dressing up. And I hate it. And it feels bad and it makes me uncomfortable. And they turn the dial up a little bit too high on the comedy transphobia to make this remotely worth your time. I got nothing out of this. The music asserts that it's a comedy. The dress, the traditional transphobic humor that we were okay with in the 90s, it's all here. And this is a firm skip for me. I like wish I just didn't watch Profit and Lace. I was really bummed out by it, frankly. What about you?
I left this episode taking more of a so bad it's good stance on it. Because like it's complicated. I think the core transphobic thing that is really, really harmful in this episode is the premise where it sort of asks, like, okay, Quark is going to be a woman. And then it asks, what is a woman? And the answer that this episode provides to defining what a woman is any person who a man wants to sexually harass is a woman.
Right.
Like, Quark's status as a woman is confirmed when this guy is chasing Quark around the room, being like, please have sex with me. I want to have sex with you. Oh, here's Brunt. And Quark's like, no, I'm a woman. Let me kiss you. Mwah. And they're both like, we're not so sure you're a woman. And Quark opens up the dress like, are you sure now, boys? And that part is awful.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, it's this inherently transphobic thing of like, you do not become a woman until you are like ogled at and harassed by heterosexual men. And then
Right.
like you've done it. You are now a woman officially. Also, you need to have the right body parts that you could like open up your clothes and be naked and
To
be
prove to
inspected
people.
and deemed female. So that fucking sucks. And
time.
the fact that that's here makes this an awful episode. If I could pluck that part out of it, I think I would really like what's left over, because the scenes where everybody's coaching Quark on how to kind of perform femininity, to me, are actually like kind of affirming in a way where it's not necessarily haha, it's so funny that this guy is dressed like a lady. A lot of the humor is from like Rom being like, okay, if you're gonna be feminine, you need to sit like this. And then he just poses in like the sexiest little lady pose ever. And you're like, wait a minute, Rom, okay, let's talk about your gender experience here, bud. And there's like this stuff about Quark trying to figure out like, how do I make my voice sound? Like, how do I walk? I don't know. That stuff I liked. And
Despite the
there's
episode,
another.
though.
What'd you say?
I said, isn't that kind of despite the episode? The stuff that you like is like, it's there and it's present because you like it and you know how to interpret it. But the episode's not like affirming that those are good things.
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder. I think I'm maybe reading it charitably. I think the episode is taking joy in Quark having to do the performance and get away with it is part of it. Like, and maybe that's kind of in like a Mrs. Doubtfire way of like, oh, ha ha ha, he's tricking everyone. And that's also kind of a transphobic trope that like every trans woman is just a man who's tricking everyone. So like that I think is harmful. I think it is a real experience to be someone who transitions later in life and is like, okay, I never learned how to walk in heels, so now I want to do this and I have to figure out how to do it. And people are going to like give me advice on how to do it. Like that's a real thing, which is distinct from I'm going to trick everybody into thinking I'm a woman. That's not what I'm doing. I am a woman. I just like didn't grow up with people perceiving me as a woman, so nobody took me aside and was like, here's how you put your hair into a ponytail or whatever. You know what I mean? But maybe that is me like bringing that to the episode and giving it more credit than it deserves.
Also takes Moogie out of the picture. I'm so curious what Moogie would have thought about this, but the idea is he stuns her into submission and then goes, well, now I need to pretend to be a woman.
I know. Like
we had a woman.
Right. This would have been, I'm going to play script doctor for a second because this episode's bad and there's only so much we can get out of being like, this is fucking transphobic and sucks. Imagine the episode where there's some other reason why Moogie can't do the meeting. Like she's actually sick. Maybe she can't get out of bed. She's actually sick. Quark, you need to be there in my place. What? Moogie, I don't want it. Like, I don't believe in this stuff. No, Quark, I need you to do this. Like, I'm your mom. Do this for me. And I'm going to teach you how to be a woman. And then in the process, Quark keeps doing these like misogynistic things. And his mom's like, bro, you're being a fucking misogynist right now. Like, stop saying these weird things about how you're smart for a woman. Stop doing that. Like, here's how you do it. And she kind of like daughters him. I think that would have been a more compelling episode, because in the meeting, even Quark is talking to the guy, the cola guy,
Slamacola,
in a really sexist way about women. Like, he's not achieving some amazing accomplishment. He's sort of giving the like, you should make Sluggo Cola for her, which is a funny satire, but kind of loses the thread a bit.
I need the trans man Don Draper episode of Mad Men where we see him do this. He's like, you know what I think women want? I need that episode.
Sluggo Cola for her.
So Armin Shimmerman was inspired in his performance by Some Like It Hot and Tootsie. Those were his two biggest touchdowns. I feel like I just wounded you.
Sure.
That's like what that was the representation at the time for how do you do this. But he was like, I'm gonna play it like in Tootsie, where Dustin Hoffman like played it serious. Like, I do want to be the most feminine woman I can be. And he said he was unhappy with the script because the script didn't believe in Quark as woman. Shimmerman was like, I'm trying to play this seriously. I like that, for example, if I'm gonna just find anything charitable, when he tries to feminize his voice, that part's not played for comedy. He does just do it.
Yes, correct.
Genuinely, I'm going to take this seriously. That's the only way this works. If I make it too obvious, I get found out. And also the joke it becomes a joke. Again, I love that Rom is the one who's in touch with his feminine side. And he's like, I understand how women are. Rom has always been that guy with his mom, with his wife. That stuff is really joyous. That's about it. That's the stuff that I liked about the episode.
That's fair. Yeah, I think I was sensing that performance from Shimmerman because that comes through. Like, he's not doing the Mrs. Doubtfire thing of like, oh, this is my lady voice.
Or Homer Simpson doing a girl voice, yeah.
Right, exactly. He's like, okay, how do I strategically and specifically get at like the nuances of how to make my voice sound a way that people would perceive it as feminine? Like, I'm going to really try to figure this out as Quark. So I think that's where I was like kind of being more charitable, is in what Shimmerman was bringing to it, it sounds like, as opposed to what was in the script. But we can give this one a pretty low score.
I think it's a D, if not an F.
We could go F. Let's go F.
That's just not redeemable for me.
For me, there's some redemptive moments, but
yeah. I don't feel comfortable giving it so bad it's good because I don't think it's good.
That's fair. I think it's more like so bad.
It's so bad it's interesting. Good. I get
so bad it's interesting, maybe, but definitely F.
The original idea for the episode came from Renee Echevarria. Here's the best quote of all time, listener. We were all at lunch talking about doing an episode about Moogie, the feminist movement, and giving Ferengi women the right to vote, Echevarria recalled. And you're like, okay, great. Next part of the quote. It was a very preliminary discussion, and I said, quote, I have this feeling that Quark ends up in a dress. I don't know why, but I think somehow Quark and Rom have to masquerade as women. Ah!
Jesus Christ.
Bad. You were so close. You walked up to the precipice and then fucking turned around. What the fuck? Okay.
Yeah. And there's the whole thing bookending it where Quark is like disgustingly sexually harassing his employee. Like, it's really, really despicable.
Yeah.
Because I had to look up like what he was saying, but he gives her a book on how to massage Ferengi ears. Is what he gives her.
How to be please like people sexually.
Like, I want you to sexually please me. Everybody loves you, but like, I want a little bit of it from you, or I'll fire you. So he's like extorting her essentially. And then at the end of the episode, he kind of has like a Scrooge at the end of a Christmas Carol moment of like, forget what I said. You're getting a raise, and women should have rights. and don't worry about having sex with me. And she's like, but I want to. And he's like, great,
No.
then we will. It's fucking gross.
That's not growth, guys. That's not character growth at the end. That's embarrassing. Rolling right through here, we have 624 times Orphan. The definition of a skippable episode. The definition of a what are we doing here episode. Oh, you didn't like Times Orphan?
No.
Are you liked Times Orphan?
Yeah, I thought it was great.
What? Okay.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
The O'Brien family are out with their newly acquired cat Chester on planet. You know, they're having a good picnic. It's Yoshi, it's Molly, it's Keiko, and it's Miles. They're having a great time. I love this family. We never get to spend time together. Miles says to Molly, you know, we're never going to be apart again. Cut to 3 seconds later, Molly goes for a run in the woods, falls into a cave that has a portal that sends her 3,000 years into the past. Oopsie. 3,000 years in the past, if there's nobody there. And the problem is that by the time they're able to pull her back, she has lived in the past for 10 years and returns to them as a young woman who does not know who she is and believes herself to just be a cave woman. And the O'Brien family have to deal with that before accepting the uncomfortable reality that she will not be able to reintegrate, and that Starfleet is like, we're just gonna like put her in jail, like we can't, or put her in holding or something. And so they make the really tough decision to send her back and never tell anyone. Odo decides to be a bro and let them send her back. And then the show has to wipe its hands and say, but Molly was there all along. So old Molly sends young Molly back into the present and everything's fine and good.
Yeah.
Okay. I think what you're getting confused here before I want you to defend yourself. You defend your point.
Okay.
A series of great performances does not make up for an episode that like has very little to say. I don't think this episode has much to say.
Interesting. Does this episode have something to say? I think where I agree with you is the third act and the way that the episode resolves is deeply unsatisfying.
Yes.
I think it is a total cop-out to say like, oh, well, they're just going to arrest her and we're not going to be able to do anything about it. So I guess we should just send her back into the past so she can live on this planet, which does not make sense to me at all. It doesn't read to me that Miles and Keiko would make that choice. If anything, they would be like, I guess we have to live on the planet with her now, or like figure out some solution because obviously our daughter can't live here. And it's super strange to me that they basically say like, sorry, our home is in the stars, your home is on the planet, so you got to go. None of that makes sense.
Mm-mm.
It's all just kind of a device to get her to go to the past and send herself back through the thing as a young kid and fix this thing that went wrong. So I found that deeply unsatisfying. Before we get to that point, I think this episode kind of has stuff to say about like parenting and parenting through the hard moments. Like it's not about, because O'Brien's sort of like, great, you know, now we're never going to be apart again. And this is all going to be easy. It's going to be picnics in the park and hanging out with a cat and no problem.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And your kids need more from you than you expected. And they develop in ways that scare you. And you have to like, I don't know, put more energy into it or a different kind of energy into it than you thought you would. You make mistakes and you like psychologically harm your kids when you didn't mean to. And you have to sort of like account for that and fix it. I don't know. So
yeah.
I found it, and the whole bit where it's like, okay, I think just from like a sci-fi story standpoint, I found it intriguing. This idea of like, okay, here's a kid who was raised in our society for the first like 6-7 years of her life. Then she spent a decade in isolation and now she's back. How do we reintegrate her into our society? And what are the developmental milestones that help us understand if we're doing that effectively?
Yeah.
Like just as someone who we're at the age where some of our friends are starting to have kids. Like
Mhm.
Amanda and I have
Kids.
a pair of friends who have, yeah, we have
Whoa.
kids.
Whoa.
No, we have a pair of friends who have a kid who's like a year old at this point.
Yeah.
And every time we see this kid, they've made like leaps and bounds in their development.
Totally.
And I've been finding that so fascinating to witness that from close up, that phase in human life where it's like, oh, you can nod now, and now you're like nodding all throughout dinner at everybody. That's fascinating. Like my joke with this baby is I'll ask them like, hey, what's been your favorite developmental milestone so far? And then they'll just kind of go like, blah, 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 blah,
Oh, fair. Really good point. Yeah.
That's a good one. So I love the scene where they're like trying to teach Molly to roll the ball back to them. It's like, this is really interesting. And the B plot of Worf hanging out with Yoshi and teaching him how to wield a rattle like it's a batlet.
So cute.
Is really cute. So it's less that this episode has a point and more that it's just like a meditation on parenting in difficult times.
Yeah.
And like I love the crew taking turns watching Yoshi and all that. So yeah, I don't know. I just really liked it.
2 episodes in a row of the crew taking turns watching somebody.
Yes.
This
yes.
is the next one.
Mm.
You make a good point. This episode is about parenting. My only pushback on that is that the conclusion undoes the point you're making.
100%. Because the point is like, sometimes you got to give up.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. I know so many people. There's a great episode of Beautiful Anonymous about someone who has a child who's like very far on the autism spectrum. And she, one of the questions Chris asks is like, I'm sure you get this a lot, but like, do you ever have any regrets? And she's like, no, of course not. Not even for a fucking second. Because you deal with the hand you're dealt. You have the kid that you have. We talked a little bit about this in our Gattaca discussion. Like you think you could like change and make your kid perfect and their childhood perfect. But sometimes things just happen. Unfortunately, some of those things mean that you lose a lot of time with them. And that's scary and dysregulating. But 10 years is a really interesting amount of time, especially at the age Molly was at, right? To go from like about 6 to 16 or so is like just the right time where your whole life is completely permanently changed, Yeah. It's like 16 to 26. Yes, you have definitely a life change, but not as much. 6 to 16 is that sweet spot where like we kind of can't come back from this. But I would have liked, and I agreed with you that the whole episode's about the challenges of parenting if they found a way to keep Molly. But the fact that they're like, there's no society in which she can exist here. We're not going to try to hide her. We give up is just disappointing. And again, the episode just literally young Molly sitting right there with a little bit of dirt on her face. And then old Molly just goes, here you go. Here she is. It's like, what are we doing? I could have literally never watched this one and nothing would have changed.
Yeah. I think it would have been different for me if the older version of Molly had been the one to decide like, I need to fix this and bring myself back as a kid because this is not working.
Yes.
And then there's a sort of tragedy of like, no, didn't she know that we loved her this way no matter what? We're happy to have her back, but like, wow, this is really sad. But instead, they should walk out of this episode feeling like awful people. Like we almost turned off the button that would have let Molly come back, and we're haunted by our sort of like giving up on her and our cruelty, and they just kind of aren't. So it definitely lowers it for me too.
I'll give it a B.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Rounding it out here, we have 2 episodes left. 625.
Are you still good on your timing? Because we're close to your hard out.
I'll let you know if that changes, but so far we're good.
Okay.
625, The Sound of Her Voice, is an episode about a woman who is stranded on a planet but manages to reach out to DS9, and they take it upon themselves to communicate with her because she can't sleep due to the medication she's taking to stay alive. And the different crew members have long, winding evening conversations with her. Lisa Cusack is the woman's name. And so she's taking this medication. It's messing with her, but she has to slow down on it. And then the second act just kind of like happens. There's a lot of like, wow, I really like this person who I can only hear and never see. Then the reveal, which I found to be very interesting, was that Lisa died a while ago. When they were finally able to get to the planet, they're like, all we found was remains from like, I think they say months or if not years ago.
3 years.
The planet is like, they basically like do a sci-fi hand wave. They're like, there's like a spirit that like is able to get into the technology, the communicator, and we've been talking to a sentient ghost.
Oh, I thought it was like there's some like radiation around the planet that like time shifts the signal or something.
Oh, I guess that's more, yeah, the way you would.
I think
it would
that's
be
what it
phrased.
was. So she like actually was talking to them when she was dying, but their messages were coming like from the future to the past, kind of thing.
Oh, interesting. That's how they explain.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how they explain it. Yeah,
That makes more sense than I was just like, what the hell?
yeah.
This episode's very sleepy. I love a late night episode of Deep Space Nine.
Huh.
I think it almost works as like a radio play. Like I watched this one on my phone last night in bed, and I
Yeah.
was like, I kind of just like listening to it. She has a great voice. It's very intimate the way that she's the kind of person who's a really good listener and a very active listener. So her conversations, especially with like Bashir and with O'Brien, where she's like, so what is your deal? Or with Sisko, it's like, well, you have a thing for that Jennifer. I know she died, but like, what's going on with you and Cassidy? Are you going to make that happen? I love her curiosity. I love the character so much. I think this is like a really tender episode. And the ending reminded me of TNG in the way that it's like, oh, and it was a sci-fi twist all along.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
Yeah, I agree. I love her characterization as like she's got sharp edges, but is a very empathetic person who like she'll sort of tease people, but as a way of building rapport, which I think you understand like, oh yeah, she's a captain. It makes
Right.
total sense why this person would be great at this job. She knows how to get to know people, how to bring out the best in them, and she like leads them at a time where they're all kind of floundering and looking for guidance and leadership, because they like don't really know what to do with their lives. And to see the way that she does that for the three of them in different ways, it is really cool. Yeah. And this is such a good like 11th hour, the calm before the storm kind of episode. This is a great way to do one of those. Like everybody's going to talk about their big problem and feel like
therapy.
they solved it. Yeah. And then they're going to go into a situation that really fucks with them and makes their lives worse. Sorry.
I didn't realize the wonderful casting here is Deborah Wilson. Yes, Deborah Wilson from Mad TV, like famous comedian Deborah Wilson.
Okay.
Which is pretty awesome. It sounds like they didn't look at the people when they auditioned them. They had to audition on voice.
I was wondering about that,
which is pretty sweet. Because like I said, we never see Lisa. We have no indication of who she is. Yeah, this is just smart and cozy and kind of thought provoking. It's not brilliant. The twist is not like a mind blower. It's just like, oh, this is like a really nice little sci-fi short story. I really like the sound of her voice, and I think this came at a good time in the season.
Yeah, and I love that feeling of like this whole time you think that they're racing to save her. Ben Sisko at the beginning is even like tell her that her heroes are on the way, and because she's been dead for so long, it's not like, oh, she died right before we got here, where now we're sort of sad that we failed.
Yeah, we just missed
they
her.
They didn't fail. They couldn't have succeeded because she died a while ago. And yet it doesn't feel like this mission was a failure or it was for no reason, because they got to connect with her and provide her some comfort as she was dying. So you come out of it and it kind of feels like a happy ending, even though she dies, because it's not like something went wrong.
Right. It was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, she died. So the barrier is sending her messages into the future, and it's also pulling their messages into the past. It's kind of a like 101 version of Interstellar, or the
Yes.
way where it's like, oh, you're not even talking to the president anymore. You're so far out from it. Which I think is fun and interesting.
And this episode makes it clear that the ship needs a counselor.
If only we had that. I wonder who's gonna be the new ship's counselor. Okay, let's find out. This is an A. This is an A+ episode, maybe an S. What did you give it?
I'd be willing. I gave it an A, but I'd be willing to go S, actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe people will disagree, but I really like this. Like, we
I
say
like it,
things that are like, oh, complete filler, like the last one, but like filler doesn't have to mean bad.
Yeah, like all this is actually pretty important. You need Bashir to be like, hey, I should actually be more of a person, because he's been so cold lately. And you need O'Brien to be like, damn, I'm lonely and I'm kind of distancing myself from people, but I love my friends. And even if some of them die, even if one of them dies, I should still try to connect with my friends.
Get close at you.
And Sisko's like, dang, I guess I have been like pushing my partner away because I'm so stressed, and I should do something about that. Like, all this is actually really important, and there's going to be no space for it in the next episode because stuff happens. So let's talk about that.
Yes, indeed. Let's talk about it. So we round things out with season 6 of Deep Space Nine, 626, Tears of the Prophets. Pelnor Joy Magellan, or Pelnor Joie, I don't know, whatever they say early on. Sisko is given the Christopher Pike Medal of Honor. Strange New Worlds, we love it. And that means that he's being hired to lead the invasion of Cardassia. That's right, folks. It's time for the war to escalate. We've got the Romulans on our side. We've got the Klingons. This is as good of a time as any. And we get to see this big major military conflict from the perspective of Damar and Weyoun over here, and from Sisko and the Deep Space Nine crew with the Klingons and the Romulans on their side attacking. Everybody's worried about how all these different competing roles are going to work together. And then, meanwhile, Dax is being sent on a mission. And meanwhile, on the side of the Dominion, we have Gul Dukat, who is trying to get his honor back and says, I have this artifact. It's going to turn the tides of the battle for us. It's going to ruin the Bashorans. Dukat opens up the idol that he brings. It's an idol inside of a chest, cracks it open, and releases a whatever they're called, a Palwraith, into himself, which gives him superpowers, because it does, and it also is bad for Bajoran society for him to have done this. And that is how we justify him approaching Deep Space Nine and attacking. The first person he runs into is Jadzia Dax, and he kills our girl Jadzia Dax in cold blood. Kind of, I don't want to say pathetically, but he just kind of zaps her. Hopelessly. Yeah. Oh. This is all, the B plot underneath is everyone kind of reflecting on their relationship with Dax. Bashir and Quark are both like, damn, we really did love her and we never took our shot. Dax herself with Worf being like, maybe I'm going to have a kid someday, maybe not. Bashir confirms you can have a kid. You guys are going to be able to do it. She says, thank God, I'm so happy, I'm ready. That's how you know she's doomed. As soon as she's like, this is going to go great. So Dax is killed, and although we succeed in pushing back the Cardassians, we don't take Cardassia, but things are okay. And then they close the wormhole, which is a problem. So they don't have reinforcements either. We're okay, but we took a fatal wound, and we've lost Dax.
And we've lost the Prophets.
And we've lost the Prophets. No more Prophets, so Sisko loses his advantage. That's what Dukat says, is like, they're like, why are you, like, what the fuck, was this worth it? You know, with how much we're losing? And it's like, yeah, but he just becomes a Starfleet captain. That great line.
Weyoun and Damar are like, okay.
That's bad!
Like, dude, why did we trust you? You are on your own shit right now.
Yeah, and that's where we're left.
I love those guys getting owned. So funny.
I liked it.
This is a bummer.
It is a bummer. No, I liked the episode overall. I thought it was well paced. I thought the fight scenes were incredible, frankly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way that Dax goes out is so clearly the actor did not renew her contract death.
It sucks, yeah. It sucks.
Did you knew this was coming? You were aware that Jadzia?
Yeah, I knew this was coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to avoid this kind of a spoiler if you're like looking at the cast on IMDb, and it's like, wait, why is Terry
Is there
Farrell only in 6 of the seasons?
Mhm.
Or you just kind of hear like, oh, there's another Dax character. So they do things in this episode and in the prior episodes to hint that this is coming. But I knew it was coming, obviously.
Mhm.
Amanda, when I was watching this episode, I was like, she was like, oh, do Dax and Worf have a kid? And I was like, I would have to spoil something for you to answer that question. And she was like, oh yeah, she dies first, right? And I was like, yeah. And she said, oh, you must be really excited then. And I'm like, what? Why? And she's like, well, you love watching women die.
Oh!
Like, no, leave me alone. And she's like, write that in your notes. Write that in your notes.
Yo, you have the coolest. You have top 5 coolest girlfriends.
You really roasted me.
That's incredible.
To be clear, I do not like watching women die.
No.
That's the point of the joke.
Yeah, it's
I was very sad. I was sad when Dax died.
I cried. There's nothing worse than when a woman dies.
Yeah, and when that death, I think the thing that bummed me out in like I'm a little upset at the show kind of way is her death being entirely contextualized around like she was going to be the mother of Worf's child.
100%.
And her last words being like, we would have had such a beautiful baby.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but what about Jadzia? Like, say something about who she was and what this means for her to be gone. And the show's just kind of like, boy, she would have been a mom, huh? Women do be moms,
That
but this
sucks.
woman be dead.
She don't get to be mom. She get to be dead.
And that kind of sucks. Like, it feels like ever since she and Worf got together, they've kind of reduced her character to like she's with Worf, and I've not loved that.
I do like the speeches that people give about her. Sisko being like,
yeah, I agree.
You were a mentor. The funny thing, though, is it affirms what you just said. Sisko's like, you were such a mentor to me as Curzon. And as Jadzia, you were really good at your job. It's really like a consummate. We were good. Whatever. It's fine. You're old man. You were old man to me to the very end. He doesn't relinquish that title. I kind of thought in that scene he was going to be like, Jadzia, thank you for your service or whatever. He kind of does, but he's still the thing he emphasized, the thing that he always loved about Dax was like, as Curzon, you were really important to me, and I respected your choice to change who that was. So, yeah, with Dax out of the picture, we only have one woman left on the show. I guess if you count Lita.
Yeah, that's true.
If you count Mookie, but those are both side characters.
Yeah.
It's a cool ending episode, though. I like the fights. I thought the fights were great.
Yeah, the fights are fine. It's all fine.
Okay.
It's all good. It's just sort of like end of the season stuff.
Yeah, we have to wind up the budget at the end of the season.
And then Sisko just goes home to wash rocks or clams.
I liked that. I like that a lot.
I like that too.
He said, I have had so much shit going on. I don't have prophets telling me what to do anymore. I lost one of my freaking lieutenants, and everything's fucked up. The war is in a weird place. I'm going to step out. And they're like, for how long? He's like, I don't know. Jake, we're going. And I love that Jake doesn't even question it. It's like, okay. Okay. And then we cut to Earth where, yes, he's polishing, I think, potatoes or clams outside of his father's restaurant.
He was washing something for the restaurant, yeah.
Yeah, he's outside his father's restaurant. Sisko's on Earth starting season 7. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Cool narrative place to put him in.
Yeah.
We'll see how this resolves in approximately 1 to 2 episodes. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
Where do you rate this one?
I wasn't blown away by it. I think it's an A or a B for me. Yeah.
I would nudge for an A just because I really enjoyed Dukat, as always. And I love the war does choose to still focus on the Dominion. We get to see Weyoun and the new guy be like, oh, fuck. And it's just so funny. It takes really serious scenes and makes them so funny to be like, damn, what could the Dominion possibly be planning? And then you have Weyoun and the new guy being like, do we have more ships? Do we have more ships?
Yeah. I love that Ducat interrupts their meeting and Wei Yun's like, we were having a meeting about how to like fight this war. Get out.
Go
We don't
away.
want to talk to you.
It says do not disturb on the door, dude. Do not open it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put this in A. Profets. That's Deep Space Nine Season 6. It is a fascinating episode of television with some highs and lows as always, but I think we pushed the series in cool directions. We're adding things like we don't have Dax anymore, but we do have Vic Fontaine. Is Vic Fontaine going to become the guidance counselor for the show next season? I guess. We're in the middle of a war. Worf lost his wife. Things are dark. But I think that there's light at the end of the tunnel. I expect Deep Space Nine to end optimistically. Wink. Wink. Magellan, any final thoughts before we move on?
No, let's just see how it goes. One more season.
Yeah.
Deep Space Nine.
2 more eps and then we're in I'm ready for Voyager. I'm like emotionally ready to be watching Voyager.
Me too.
Wait, we have to watch the TOS movies before we watch Voyager. It'll be a while. I think we should.
The TOS movies?
Yeah, we have to watch Wrath of Khan like before we die. What if we die before we watch Wrath of Khan?
I would rather watch Voyager before I die than Wrath of Khan, to be honest with you.
Okay, listener, tell us what you think, because you guys ultimately you give us money. No, Magellan makes the final decision.
I honestly don't really care about that one. Like, you could tell me that you want me to watch Wrath of Khan before Voyager if I'm gonna die tomorrow, and I'd still watch Voyager. I'm dying. I'm gonna watch what I want to watch. You know what I mean?
I'm dying. I get it. Okay.
If those are the stakes, it's like, yeah, I'm hanging out with Captain Janeway, drinking coffee until the bitter end.
Rack to Gino, baby.
Rack to Gino.
You want to tell us what we're watching next time on Chatz?
We're returning to Xena, Warrior Princess, season 5. God, it's been so long since we've watched Xena. It's been like 5 years.
Yeah, at least.
We're gonna watch some more of it.
No.
Wait,
are we?
Yeah. Yeah.
50? Episode 50?
Is that the next one? 50 is the next one?
Is there not a 49 before that?
I think there's a 49 before.
Oh, there's a 49. Yeah, there is. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We're doing something special for episode 50, which we'll tell you next week. But episode 49, these are the last 2 episodes of Xena Warrior Princess from the 90s. November 1999. We've got season 5, episode 7, Back in the Bottle, and season 5, episode 8, Little Problems. So Back in the Bottle is actually the second part of this, like, we're back in Chin 2-parter. So Xena must harness the powers of Lao Ma to save Gabrielle, Joxer, and the people of Chin from a dangerous militia. All right, we'll see how that goes. And then season 5, episode 8, Little Problems. Gabrielle and Aphrodite have until sundown to save Xena's soul from being trapped inside a little girl forever. Okay. That sounds kind of fun.
I like Aphrodite.
Yeah, Xena Light episode where Aphrodite and Gabrielle are friends. That sounds pretty silly.
Yeah. All right. Fun stuff for next time on the podcast. Magellan, before we get there, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on another podcast I do with my friend Justin called Super Smash Echoes, where we play video games related to the Super Smash Brothers franchise, Super Smash Echoes. Check it out. You can also find me on Bluesky at notthatmagellan.bsky.social and read some of my writing on Ghost at not-that-magellan.ghost.io. What about you?
You can find me on Bluesky at Ibrahim, AIVRAHIM. And you can listen to me on The Creature Quorum, which is a podcast on ScanlineMedia.com that I do. That's about Pokemon with my friend Six. I also do the Garnet Wager every month or so with our friend Nick. That's all on ScanlineMedia.com. Those are my other gigs for now. I don't know whose turn it is. I kind of wanted to. I don't know whose turn it is, but I know that I'm gonna do. I keep seeing that fucking Colin Farrell. Is it Margot Robbie? And they're like in a rom-com where they go through doors to go into their past. Have you seen this trailer? No. It looks kind of good, and I'm interested. But there is a part in it.
Sounds good.
There's a part in it where she makes fun of his accent, and she's like, "Oh, you heard it," but like in the context of the movie, it's very funny.
That's funny.
No, I will do the plug zone.
Okay.
If you have questions, comments, or concerns for us, you can email us at chatzpod.gmail.com. That is our email address. If you want to be on the show, you can also reach out over there. If you love me, hey baby, You can find us on Bluesky. We're at ChatspOd. You can find us on YouTube. We're Chatz, the television podcast, where you can see my Chapel Roan Hot to Go shirt and Magellan's kind of gendery Simpsons shirt over there, which I really, really adore. Yeah, that's fantastic, dude. So check us out on YouTube if you want to do that. We have a Chatz Discord, which you can ask for access to or get access to by supporting us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/chatzpod. $1, $3, and $5 a month gets you things like the Discord, gets you things like being able to put things into that cup that's next to Magellan. And when we pull things out of that cup once a month, we do what is told of us. Watch a show, watch a movie, play a game. It's great. And all that, it can be heard at patreon.com/chatzpod for $3 or $5 a month. $5 a month gets you that bonus content, and it gets you a wonderful customized thank you after every main feed episode of the pod. So thank you today to our $5 plus patrons, whomst include domestic partner of the podcast, Amanda, Arthur, Emily, Emrys, Felicia, Jen, Justin, Kyrie, Lee, Marcus, May Louise, Magellan's mom, Nick of the Brothers at Infinite War, Noel, Six, and Stefan. Make sure to rate us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you like our main feed podcast art, it's done by Camilla. She's at Camilla Strader on social media. Last but not least, our final segment is called Chatzums Crunch, where like the Vlasic snacking pickle, Snackums. What is it actually called? Snackums.
Snackums, yeah. Snackums.
We recommend you things to enjoy between now and next episode. John, what is or are your Chatzums?
I've got two. The first is a magic Chatsum. They released between our last recording and this one the newest set, which is called Edge of Eternities, and it's the first sci-fi kind of I don't think space. I guess space opera is kind of a fine term for it, but essentially just sci-fi themed magic set. So it's outer space, there's aliens, and there's spaceships. And if you like Star Trek and you're sort of interested in magic, I think you'll enjoy Age of Eternities. It's also a pretty powerful set in a fun way. Like the different archetypes and things that the cards do feel cool.
That's good to hear.
So it plays well along with the vibes being fun. So I recommend checking it out if you have any interest in that. And then I have a comic book recommendation.
What?
So I saw some posts, I think it was on Facebook or something, that there's a current run of Ultimate Spider-Man being written by Jonathan Hickman that's coming to an end right now. And the premise of this like reboot of the Ultimate Universe, or it's like kind of a different Ultimate Universe that's been going since 2023. Mm-hmm. The premise is that there's this guy called the Maker, who's like the Ultimate Universe Reed Richards, who became a supervillain. He went to the past of a Marvel universe where he prevented all of the superheroes from having their origin story moment where they become superheroes, so that he could create this like cabal of supervillains who run the world for him in these like little fiefdoms.
Yeah.
But he's in charge of the world. And Tony Stark finds out that this has happened.
Yeah.
So then these bad guys frame Tony Stark for like attacking Manhattan and blowing up part of it. So everybody hates Tony Stark, but then he is slowly able to introduce to former heroes like, hey, you were supposed to be a hero. He sends Spider-Man, Peter Parker, who's like in his 40s and he's a dad. He's married to MJ. He's got 2 kids.
Okay.
He gets a message from Tony Stark that's like, hey, here's a radioactive spider in a little box. You were supposed to be bitten by a spider and turned into Spider-Man. So if you want to do that, you should do that. And Peter Parker's like, I have had a sense all my life that I was supposed to be different, and I wasn't. And it's made me depressed and kind of dysphoric. And maybe I should undergo this bodily transformation. It's like kind of trans is what I'm saying. And so then he lets the spider bite him. And it's a Spider-Man story where he becomes Spider-Man like as a dad, and he has to sort of figure out like, how do I balance being Spider-Man with being a dad and just kind of like a guy? And it's really good. And then in the background, Uncle Ben is still alive. Aunt May passed away in that attack on New York, but Uncle Ben and J. Jonah Jameson are like best friends, and they leave the Daily Bugle to try to do like a newsroom where they do the news right, because the news is owned by all these evil bad guys.
Ooh.
It's so good. And like every issue introduces some Spider-Man thing in a new context where you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, that's how we're doing Gwen Stacy," or like, "Oh shit, that's Dr. Octavius? What the hell?" This is so fascinating. So if you're a Spider-Man fan
Mm.
and you want to see a real fresh take on it, I recommend the Jonathan Hickman Ultimate Spider-Man run that started in 2023 and is about to end. So you'll be able to read basically the entirety of it at once.
Yeah, this is the thing about Jonathan Hickman is for over a decade now, he does this thing where he's like, this is exactly how he set up Battle World like 10 years ago when I was reading Marvel comics. So it's like, what if this and this and this, and it's like this crazy cabal stuff, and you're like, okay, what's the end result? And he's like, more issue ones, and you're like, wait, again? And that's how that's the industry, how it works. We want issue ones, but if it leads to stuff like that, then that's awesome. I respect it very much.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Oh, excuse me. I will definitely check that out, and I'm also gonna chat some 2 things today. My first chatsum is a YouTube channel / board game publisher, Hollandspiele. That's spelled HOLLANDSPIELE. So they publish a lot of cool niche board games, but they also have this really great, honestly, very underappreciated YouTube channel that is the same name, Hollandspiele. That has a lot of great like game design talk, not just about board games, but about card games and video games and books and like other pop culture. So at the very, very least, subscribe to her YouTube channel, but also I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye out for her stuff at PAX Unplugged this year because I'm interested, very curious. My other chatsum is more selective. You might not like this kind of thing, but if you do think that you like the idea of a Shrek rave, I'm here to tell you that Shrek rave was really fun, and I had a great time last night.
Amanda today was looking at Instagram and was like, I think Alan went to a Shrek rave.
That's correct.
And I'm like, huh? Okay.
The thing about it is it's exactly what you think it is. Like people dress the way you think they do. I went as one of the 3 blind mice. I didn't intend to have 2 other people in our group as blind mice, but we had 3 and we're like, this is incredible. They have a concert venue, and there's a guy who plays like EDM dubstep remixes of Shrek, of like 2000s music, mostly from the Shrek soundtrack.
That's fun.
It is. It's fun. You spend a couple hours there. You maybe have a couple bevs, whatever you like, and go. I liked it. It's apparently they tour all over the country, so a lot of people are like, oh yeah. Like we were in a bar beforehand, and someone was like, what are those outfits? Are you guys going to a rave? Is this a? And then one guy was like, hey, I'm from out of town, but why are you guys dressed like Shrek? It's like, let me tell you about Shrek. It's down the street, and it's really fucking fun. Yeah. So if that sounds like something that's up your alley, then it probably is, and you'll have a good time. I recommend going to a Shrek rave. Nice. That's it for now, though, folks. Thank you so much for listening to this long and fascinating, I hope, episode of Chatz, a television podcast, sub-season TrekChatz. Thank you to Magellan for being the way into my Ducat, because we're both just men working hard who did nothing wrong.
Oh, sure.
Oh, no.
Oh, sure.
And thanks for listening to TrekChatz. Peace.
Bye-bye.